Hello and welcome to the Megacast by Actual Tech Media. Today's topic, devising cloud strategies and solutions. Thank you so much for joining us on this Megacast event. On the event, you'll hear from our experts from Netapp, Faction, Rubric, Psychotic, Pure Storage, Ping Identity, and Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. What an awesome lineup of presenters on the event today. If you're interested in the cloud, you want to improve your strategy with innovative solutions, you're in the right place. We at Actual Tech Media created the Megacast and EcoCast event series to help educate IT professionals such as yourselves about the latest and greatest in enterprise technology, to help you learn about this quickly and efficiently, all in one place, and to help you get all your questions answered from our team of our lineup of experts. And while you're doing it, why not win some awesome prizes at the same time? Now, before we get started, you should know a few things about the event. My name is David Davis of Actual Tech Media, and I'll be serving as the moderator. We're all former IT professionals ourselves here at Actual Tech Media, and we know how tough it can be out there in the world of enterprise IT. So we want to help you to solve your technology challenges around cloud computing, and we're here to help. We encourage your questions. They're in the questions pane. We'll be doing our best to answer every question that comes in, and I'll be routing the best questions to our lineup of expert presenters. In fact, we have a best question prize to help encourage those questions as well. If you've got a question on your mind, maybe the best question prize will, encourage you a little bit to ask it instead of holding back. We also want this to be a social event, so we encourage you to socialize the event. You can do that with the Twitter icon. It's on the right-hand side of your screen today. If you click on that icon, you'll see a little panel that will come up. You'll see the hashtag for today's event already in there, ATM Megacast. And if you tweet directly from that console there, directly using that widget, the hashtag will be automatically appended. I'll be monitoring Twitter throughout the event for anyone tweeting with that hashtag. I'll do my best to follow you or retweet or comment. So thank you in advance for sharing what you've learned today on the Megacast. We also encourage you to check out the handouts, the resources that are there in the handouts tab. There are ebooks, there are PDF resources of all kinds, there are special links. So make sure that you check out the handouts before you go. And then, as I mentioned, this is a Megacast. I like to say we have a mega lineup of prizes, and today is no different. We have 5 Apple M1 iPad Pros, the latest and greatest Apple iPads with the M1 chip. Wish I could get my hands on one of these. 5 of you will be winning one of these today, so best of luck. We also have an Amazon $500 gift card that we'll be giving out after each presentation, roughly every 30 minutes on the Megacast today. So that means that we've got 7 presenters, 7 $500 gift cards, $3,500 there in Amazon gift cards. Of course, you must be live in attendance to qualify for the prize drawings, and winners will be announced by me periodically during the event. As I mentioned, we also have our best question prize as well for an Amazon $50 gift card, 1 for each session. So 7 times 50, that's another $350 there in Amazon gift cards. Of course, you have to ask a question, though, to be entered into the drawing. And, of course, you also, as with all these prizes, you must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions that you can find there in the Handouts tab. All prize winners must submit an IRS Form W-9 to Actual Tech Media, and we will reach out to the prize winners via email after the event. And if you win a prize, you always have the option to donate the prize value to the selected charities you see here on the screen. Over the years, we've donated thousands of dollars to charities. Thanks to generous prize winners, such as yourselves, and we would love to help you do that. It always is so great to see when someone donates. Let's say I just recently, a couple weeks ago, someone donated a laptop, brand new Apple laptop value to cancer research. So I love to see that. The hashtag, as I mentioned for today, is ATM Megacast. You can follow Actual Tech Media on Twitter and me, your moderator, David M. Davis, as well. You can follow Actual Tech Media over on YouTube. Of course, we post all of our events there, Facebook, and our 10 on Tech podcast over in the Apple Podcast Store. It's a great way to stay up to date on enterprise technology in a podcast form, short and succinct in around 10 minutes. Subscribe to all the Actual Tech Media social channels there on the top right-hand side of your audience console. If you're just going to follow us in one place, I recommend LinkedIn. That's really where all the social is going on in the world of enterprise tech these days for the most part. So make sure that you check that out. Also, don't forget about the link to our Gorilla Guide book club. These are free, educational, easy-to-read IT books authored by top industry experts. There's a link there to gorilla.guide in the Handouts tab. And then finally, I encourage you to refer your friends, IT friends, and coworkers to Actual Tech Media online events, and you both could win an Amazon $300 gift card. We hold those drawings monthly, and the link to the Refer a Friend page is there in the Handouts tab as well, as it is on the screen. And actually, at the end of the event, you'll be redirected to that landing page as well. And now something slightly different here before we get into our keynote interview and do a poll and I introduce you to our first presenter. We're doing an upcoming event on October 20th. And the Actual Tech Media audience is always so generous in sharing your real-world, industry feedback from the perspective of IT pros out there, in the trenches. And so this is going to be a special ransomware summit, and we are looking for some IT practitioners out there that have had experience, real experience with ransomware. The goal of this event is to keep everyone to date on what's going on in the industry and, stay current on all things ransomware and, most importantly, how to prevent it. So stories about what's really happened out there are, educational to everyone else. And we're looking for 5 compelling stories about IT organizations that were targets of ransomware and what you learned, how you recovered, what you would do differently, what you've done in the future to protect yourself. And so each selected submission will receive a gift card of $500 in exchange for your time, which would include a bit of email and a quick phone call to understand, the details. You don't have to share the name of your company or even, I guess, your name publicly, really. This can be a completely anonymous thing. Of course, if we're talking on the phone or via email, it'd be good to know your first name at least. But we understand the sensitivity of this, kind of topic. So I've got a quick poll question here I want to bring up. And if you would be willing to share, even anonymously, your story about being a ransomware victim, we would be interested in, having you in your story on our upcoming event. So the answers here are yes, we've been a subject of a ransomware attack, and we'd be willing to share our story to help others. We don't require anonymity. I can't say that. Yes, we've been a subject to a ransomware attack, and we'd be willing to share our story anonymously to help others. And no, we've been a subject to a ransomware event, but really can't talk about it. Or no, we haven't suffered any sort of ransomware attack. So I'll leave this up here for a few moments. Let everyone, respond, and hopefully, you can either help us out with a story, or hopefully you haven't been the victim of a ransomware attack, but you'll still join our upcoming ransomware summit to learn about what you can do to further protect yourself. All right, thank you to everyone who responded there to the poll. And with that, I'm excited now to introduce you to our new webinar moderator here at Actual Tech Media. Scott and I are going to do here a brief interview, and then I'll introduce you to our first presenter on the event. So let's turn on our video and let's have a little chat with Scott.
Before we start chatting about cloud, I want to be the first to introduce you to our new webinar moderator here at Actual Tech Media. Welcome, Mr. Scott Becker. Scott's no stranger to webinars. Scott, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and your experience in the industry?
Thanks, David. Yeah, it's great to be here. And yeah, I've been covering the technology industry for about 20 years through various publications, including ENT, Redmond, Virtualization and Cloud Review, Redmond Channel Partner. A lot of it on the Microsoft side, but with a broad view to the whole industry. And in that time over the last 5 to 7 years, I've been doing a lot of webcasts, and love the format.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to have you. We're thankful to have you, and I look forward to seeing some awesome webinars that I know you're going to help create here at Actual Tech Media.
Thanks.
So yeah, with that, let's go ahead and start our chat here. Let's just pretend we're chatting at Starbucks or the local coffee chain, whatever it might be, about devising cloud strategies and solutions. That's the topic of today's Megacast event. So first question, chat, Scott, I wanted to ask you is just what's got the momentum right now that you're seeing? Is it public? Is it private? Is it hybrid?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm going to say hybrid cloud. Everybody wants to talk about cloud, and that's where everyone's, forward-looking investment is definitely focused. But, the reality is there's a lot of legacy applications out there that aren't going away. You've got this mix of the legacy apps, compliance, historically on-premises data, and then you've got all the sunk costs in current data centers and, storage architectures. And things that are sort of right in the middle of their life cycle. So, you add all that up, and I think you're looking at hybrid scenarios being the most common. So about a week ago, IDC came out with their latest server numbers. And, yes, the hyperscale infrastructure providers are buying up a huge number of servers. You're looking at basically about 7 public companies or huge internet companies. So, Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook, Google, Alibaba, Tencent, and Baidu, I think are theirs, but they bought almost a third of the servers that were sold last quarter. But wow. That means, while they're soaking up, that huge proportion of the market, when you look at new hardware, you've still got 2 out of 3 servers that are going out to sort of traditional places, enterprises, mid-market, startups. People are going to continue to do some things on premises, which is just a long way of saying, I think hybrid's going to be here for a while. And it's definitely something to, keep an eye on and figure out how to manage.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I mean, I think, kind of the tech media and some vendors tend to hype that this is an all or nothing scenario. Like, yeah. On premises is dead, everything's moving to the cloud. And that's simply, not the case. It's like saying virtual machines are dead, everyone's moving to containers tomorrow. And, rarely is there this kind of all or nothing scenario. The reality of it is that it's somewhere in the center, and that hybrid is really kind of the future. Yep. You have to be smart in IT and leverage the right tool for the job.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, when it comes to multi-cloud, what's your take on that? Is it better to standardize on one cloud?
Yeah, and that comes up a lot. And I'm an advocate of standardizing on as few clouds as possible. I believe strongly that you can get more out of a technology by going sort of deep into its features and its internals, sort of that like better together idea, than you can by sort of chasing after those individual, best of breed features of competing platforms. Your developers can collaborate on best practices in a DevOps environment. IT knows what to expect and becomes expert in deploying, a particular one. You can also avoid sort of internal conflicts, say a AWS team versus the Azure team, fighting for developer resources or, budget and all that kind of stuff. There's a host of reasons, but of course, in reality, a lot of these decisions about platform standardization are sort of outside of IT's hands. Maybe an executive, senior executives are demanding a particular platform because it's the right one for a specific function. Sometimes you've got vertical solutions that are mission critical. And, there are just a lot of reasons to expect that you're going to have to live with a multi-cloud environment. But, the more you can standardize, I feel, the better your IT department can be in contributing to the business. What's your take on it?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I mean, from the perspective of an IT manager, which was my previous role in an IT organization, I'm always looking for standards and, to make the company more efficient and the IT staff more efficient, kind of like in a development organization. You don't want to, you want to standardize on a single language that we're all going to use because it's just more efficient. And to me, the cloud is kind of the same thing. And the more I use the multiple clouds, the more I realize just how different they are and how they work. They, just even starting a virtual machine on or an instance on one cloud is not the same as doing it on another cloud. And it's certainly something to consider because IT needs more standards to make us more, efficient. And one of the biggest mistakes I see people making just when it comes to moving to the cloud in general is assuming that the cloud is going to take care of everything. And that's, I think, one of the big reasons that this event that we're talking about today here on the Megacast is so important, because we have so many excellent solutions to help in the hybrid cloud ecosystem, as you will. I mean, disaster recovery, for example, data protection, insight into what's happening in the cloud, management, all these things aren't just automatic. You really need additional tools and solutions to help kind of complete the picture. And to me, it's a lot like the virtual infrastructure, was in the past. For example, VMware, if you implement vSphere, it doesn't just come with everything you need. You still need a lot of other solutions kind of in the ecosystem, and the cloud is no different.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. I'm looking forward to this event.
Me too. This has been fun chatting with you, Scott. And I look forward to, more of our chats like this on upcoming events, but we better go ahead and get started with the Megacast.
Sounds good.
All right. And with that, it's now time to introduce you to our first presenter on today's Cloud Strategies and Solutions Megacast. Welcome, Megan McPherson, Solutions Architect at Netapp. Megan, thanks for being on.
Well, thank you very much, David, for the introduction. And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. Thank you all for taking the time to tune in. As David mentioned, my name is Megan McPherson, and I am a solutions architect with Netapp, specializing in enterprise applications. And I'm here to chat about how Netapp can help supercharge your cloud journey, no matter where you are in that journey today. Whether your data sits on-premise and you're only just beginning to adopt the cloud, to those of you whose data might be cloud native, and everywhere in between. The Netapp portfolio provides the tools you need to make your cloud strategy a smashing success. So first, we'll start off with a quick look at some recent industry trends. Then we'll discuss what a data fabric is and the value it can bring to your business. From there, we'll drill down to enterprise applications, more specifically Oracle, a common challenge that a lot of companies face when it comes to cloud adoption. And we'll talk about one of our popular use cases for databases, and then I'll put the spotlight on one of our many successful cloud-based customer case studies before we wrap up with some Q&A. The data storage market is changing. Cloud storage is a top technology for 2021, followed closely by all-flash storage. And somewhat surprisingly, tape technology still made the list, only slightly behind NVMe and Fabric. And unsurprisingly, object storage was also a major focus, both on-premise and in the cloud. And just like the data storage market is changing, so is the long-standing dictum of keeping prod and non-prod separate. As enterprise applications move to the cloud, that line of separation is blurring. That said, the desire to move databases to the cloud, regardless of the environment classification, is strong. And you can see there's strong numbers across both production, backup, and your non-prod environments, all going to the cloud. And surprise, pop quiz, just kidding. So here's just a quick polling question for you. I'm curious about which cloud or clouds you currently host data in today.
Absolutely, yeah. And this is a multi-select question. I want to point out to everyone, if you are using multiple clouds, feel free to select that on there. This is something that we were chatting about actually in the keynote was, the challenges and benefits of, using multiple clouds or multi-cloud. So we'll leave this up here for a moment, let everyone respond, and then I'll share the results.
Absolutely.
All right, lots of responses coming in. Thank you, everyone, for those. Let me go ahead and share out the results now. And it looks like roughly 65% said Azure, 50% said AWS, and then kind of a mixture of the other clouds from there. Megan, what do you think about the results?
It's excellent. I mean, it's not entirely what I was expecting, which is great. I'm always happy to be surprised. But I did definitely expect to see Azure and AWS there at the top. So that is not as surprising, but I'm a bit surprised with some other adoption. But thank you very much for providing that input. This is very valuable information. All right. Oh, sorry. All right. When it comes to the cloud, you could say that we've done this before, that Netapp has an already proven history of enabling our customers in their cloud journeys. We have thousands of on-premise installations worldwide. We've partnered with application vendors like SAP for 20 years, and they even developed their software on our platform. And with our enterprise-grade capabilities in enhancing cloud deployments, we've also attracted cloud-native customers to bulletproof their cloud environments. And these are just 3 examples of successful customers running Netapp in the cloud today: Coke One North America, Ulta Gas, and SAP. Each of these organizations has a very large data footprint. All of them partnered with Netapp for their cloud strategy, and all of them have successfully taken advantage of the cloud for their business operations. How did they do that? Well, they built their own data fabrics with Netapp's foundational technologies and are now thriving in the cloud. So what is a data fabric and why would you want one? Well, let me digress here for a minute, and then we'll get into the answer to those questions over the next few slides. So over the last several years, Netapp has transformed into a global cloud-led, data-centric software leader. We've taken our core technologies and extended them into the top public cloud providers and beyond with software-defined storage. This enables our customers to optimize their mission-critical data no matter where that data lives at any given time. You could think of a data fabric in sort of the same way you might think about an Apple end user ID. With Apple, you can access your data on any device, anywhere and everywhere, whenever you need it. When it comes to corporate data storage, Netapp is the key to a successful data fabric implementation, truly empowering your data instead of just provisioning the space for you. Our capabilities allow you to scale, analyze, optimize, protect, and secure your data wherever you want it, changing your data from an obstacle to a competitive advantage. And how we do that is through a wide range of interconnected data services that make up a holistic infrastructure across both on-premise and cloud environments. I know this slide is a lot to look at, but I'm just going to step through it all in just brief descriptions. So the ecosystem that we've made is made tangible through Cloud Manager, our central management pane that visually represents your entire data storage footprint across multiple clouds and on-premise. And that Cloud Manager is our anchor point for hybrid multi-cloud replication, backup, data synchronization, Kubernetes clusters, compliance, file caching, compute, and tiering services. With Cloud Manager, we connect your disparate storage environments into a single seamless fabric. And this fabric is the key to making your cloud strategy simple, integrated, and automated. We strengthen that data fabric by adding application-aware backups, advanced data management, and easy DR protection, whether your applications run directly on physical hosts, cloud compute nodes, virtual hosts, or in containers. And then we take that a step further with services to tier inactive and backup data to less expensive storage regardless of where your active data is located. And with powerful analytics services like Cloud Control and Cloud Insights, we give you total visibility into your infrastructure and applications and enable you to implement things like data classification, security and privacy compliance, and ransomware protection, prevention, and remediation. And with services like Spot, we provide continuous app-driven cloud compute optimization and automation. Simply put, you can feel comfortable knowing that your compute resources are always fully utilized and not over-provisioned without having to manually intervene, which means you can stop worrying about wasted cloud costs, performance demands, and management complexity. And did I mention you can take advantage of Spot even if you have no Netapp storage in the cloud? Pretty cool, right? We also provide intelligent features like global file caching to boost your VDI environment and your distributed unstructured data to enable next generation end user computing at up to 50% less cost than competitive alternatives. Now, if that all sounds like a fairy tale and too good to be true, I don't blame you for thinking that. But I can assure you that Netapp has spent years innovating to bring this data paradise into fruition. We've created this ecosystem so that you have the flexibility to run any of your applications in the cloud and on-prem, synchronizing your data across all of your data fabric endpoints and moving them easily between environments whenever your requirements change. And the top public cloud providers trust in our abilities to meet their customers' needs so deeply that they've created first-party service offerings surrounding our technologies, such as Azure Netapp Files and the just recently announced AWS FSx for Netapp ONTAP. That's right, Netapp storage is available as native, fully managed cloud storage services directly from your favorite cloud providers. And it is all because they recognize us as the most efficient, resilient, and performant shared storage operating system in the world. Enterprise applications such as Oracle power a lot of today's businesses by increasing productivity and optimizing operational efficiency through logical access that turns your data into value. But let's be honest, they also present challenges such as ensuring performance, security, and reliable SLAs, managing upgrades, data migration expenses, time, and risk, all of which make it difficult for enterprise applications to integrate with and leverage the full power of the cloud. And as a prior Oracle database administrator myself, I wholeheartedly believe that Oracle runs best on Netapp. With Netapp fueling your enterprise databases, you can achieve always-on availability, nonstop performance, and still lower your total cost of ownership. And with advanced data management technologies, multi-protocol connectivity, and a single management tool set across your entire storage environment, you can optimize and supercharge all of your IT investments, including Oracle. So here's a quick look at just one of our popular hybrid cloud use cases for production enterprise databases that may be located in on-premise environments. So without altering any data structures or making database modifications, you can easily replicate and begin using your Oracle database in the cloud. And this use case is the foundation for easy migration to the cloud. It also enables the offloading of dev, test, compute environments that either may not need to be constantly running and consuming resources, or those environments that need burst capabilities for rapid development cycles. It is also a great candidate for using the cloud as a DR location and for storing your database backups in the cloud in a format that still allows for speedy recovery. And this use case, you can You can also take this use case and think of it as well as if the on-premise environment that is shown there could also be a separate cloud environment. So you can achieve the same use case for databases that may exist in Azure. You can also replicate them over to AWS for the same purposes of dev and test in an alternate cloud environment, and DR for protection against provider issues in the cloud. So adding resiliency to your data there. So now I would like to bring the focus to one of our customer success stories that I introduced earlier on in the webinar. And Ulta Gas is the leading gas distribution company in Italy and the third largest in Europe. It has a market share of more than 34% for domestic gas distribution in Italy, and through an extensive and geographically diversified distribution network that serves more than 1,800 municipalities. The company manages 7.5 million live meters. As part of a technology initiative, Ulta Gas migrated their entire data center to the cloud in 2018, shifting expenses away from the hard capital cost of data centers to the flexibility of Microsoft Azure expenditures. The company selected Microsoft Azure for 55 large Oracle database instances that support mission-critical applications such as finance, metering, and billing. And although the data center cost and management benefits of the migration were immediate, performance demands were just not being met. In fact, performance was suffering. Virtual machines and storage had to be over-provisioned. Backup and recovery times were unacceptable, as long as 15 hours, demanding an alternative approach. After a proof of concept project, Ulta Gas chose Azure Netapp Files because it allowed greater control of database performance and network traffic. They found that Azure Netapp Files could support I/O-intensive application demands with high-performance responses and low latency. And today, both production and development environments are on Azure Netapp Files. This is generating overall savings in storage costs and enabled Ulta Gas to maximize their cloud utilization and achieve new service level agreements with their customers. In addition to cost savings, IT is now more responsive to the business. Instead of protecting applications from change, the speed of snapshots and recovery means that more testing can be done. New application features can be tested and rolled out more frequently. Data storage and backup and recovery became an enabling strategy for innovation and not a bottleneck. So I know I covered a lot of information in just a few slides. And I apologize again for that brief disconnection. So I'm going to close with just a simple message. One of the most beautiful aspects about connecting your data together into a data fabric is it makes it so much easier to gain knowledge about the data you own. And knowledge is power. At Netapp, we are doing everything we can to put the power of your data into your hands. So please reach out to us today. Schedule a time to talk to one of our experts and find out more about the offerings discussed in this webinar. Take us for a virtual test drive with our customer labs on demand. Visit tv.netapp.com to learn more information about our solutions. And even participate in customized workshops and take us for a real test drive with a customer proof of concept right in your own environment. And also, it's not up on the slide, but I can't forget to call out our annual Netapp Insight Conference. It is a lot of fun, and I would encourage everyone to get registered at insight.netapp.com. So thank you, everyone, for your attention today. I think we're going to now open things up for a quick Q&A before the next presentation and another polling question.
Absolutely, yeah. Great presentation, Megan. We do have some questions for you. While we do that, we've got a couple of polls for everyone out there in the audience. The first poll on the screen now says, which of your other environment or application workloads are in the cloud? So in other words, which applications have you moved to already to the cloud today? And this is a multi-select question again, so feel free to select more than one of these. All right, so first question I wanted to ask you, Megan, says here, do I need separate management tools for my cloud and on-prem applications and databases?
And you don't, actually. So our cloud manager will extend from both your on-premise storage to either one or more cloud providers. It's that single pane of management glass that really reduces the amount of complexity that you need in terms of learning tool sets in order to get to the cloud and take advantage of what the cloud has to offer. So you do not need multiple tool sets. We provide just one as the anchor point for all cloud integration. Nice.
I like that. We need fewer points of management. Next question, can I change cloud providers if I want to, if I'm using Netapp or even use multiple clouds?
Yes, absolutely. So with Netapp, flexibility was really one of our mandates behind the ecosystem that we created. So we wanted to give our customers the ability to test out multiple cloud providers or migrate to multiple cloud providers, and for those who are cloud native, be able to protect their data to other clouds, and even enable the cloud application developers to be able to refactor their applications very easily between different cloud providers. So you can change at will and use multiple if that is what your business mandates.
Nice. Very nice. And then someone here is asking about latency sensitive applications. Can Netapp still support running those in the cloud?
So, absolutely. Netapp has multiple offerings in the cloud, and for those customers who are not seeing the performance they need from something like our Cloud Volumes ONTAP system, those first-party offerings that I mentioned from Azure from Azure and AWS, like Azure Netapp Files and Amazon FSx for Netapp ONTAP, you can absolutely place latency sensitive applications in the cloud without having to worry about them having performance degradation and thereby causing disruption to your applications and potentially your end users. So we avoid that with those first-party service offerings for those customers who need that storage response for those IO-intensive applications.
Nice. Nice. And I just wanted to point out, I shared the results here of the poll, and it looks like 44% say enterprise databases, they've moved to the cloud, 30% VMware, 25% unstructured data, 23% media and entertainment. So kind of a mixture across the board there. Let me go ahead and bring up the next poll question, and that is simply, what additional information would you like about Netapp? And then let's see, Megan, back to our questions here. Someone else wants to know, how does Netapp enable hybrid cloud architecture?
So we really enable it through the data fabric that I was talking about during our webinar. But really what it comes down to is the ability to replicate your data to any cloud provider that you choose and between cloud providers at a block level, so that you know there's no data that's changed, there's no permissions you need to change, etc. When it comes to migrating what you have on-premise to the cloud, or even just instead of migrating, having your on-premise environment stay on-prem and the ability to replicate up to the cloud and begin testing with them, like I showed in that popular use case. So the data fabric and the replication of your data to and from each of those endpoints is really what is the foundational enabler for your hybrid cloud infrastructure.
Okay. And then let's see, one more here. I like this one. How does Netapp reduce RTO in a cloud environment?
Well, so we do that through multiple ways. So one of the first ways is the ability to provide high availability within your storage environment. So we provide storage failover between things like zones, so that's within the same region within a cloud provider. And then we take that a step further outside of that high availability with our snapshot technology, which has been a foundational technology for Netapp, I think almost since its inception. And those snapshots are the foundation for the replication. They provide fast and easy recovery of a storage volume, and I mean fast, like seconds fast, not an hour or anything like that, just seconds. And those snapshots are the basis for the replication to enable you to use other cloud providers than the one you're currently in as DR environments. And because of those snapshots, the ability to recover to your disaster recovery provider is extremely quick, getting you back up and running in minutes rather than hours or potentially days.
Excellent. All right. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up here. There's at least 20 other electronic questions there for you in the queue. Obviously,
Wonderful.
obviously a lot of interest here on what you're doing with Netapp. So, Megan, great presentation. Thank you so much for being on the Megacast today.
Thank you very much for having me and Netapp, and good luck with the other presentations and speakers. I look forward to getting to those the rest of those questions in the chat there shortly here.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you to Netapp. Check out the handouts tab that's there in your audience console. That will take you over to a Gartner report on the cloud infrastructure and platform services skills that teams require for the future.
Wonderful.
All right.
Much
thank you to
appreciated.
everyone who. Yeah, thank you, Megan. And thank you to everyone who responded there to the poll. I'll leave that up while I announce our first gift card winner. This is going out to Sean Kesavan from California, and our first grand prize winner for an Apple M1 iPad Pro is going to Brian Stetson from Pennsylvania. Congratulations. And with that, it's now time for our next presenter on today's Megacast. I'm excited to introduce Mr. Matt Wallace, CTO at Faction. Matt, are you there?
I am. Hey, good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon, Matt. Thanks for being on. Take it away.
Thank you very much. Well, hey, everybody. I'm really happy to join you today to give you some details about Faction. Awesome topic here about devising cloud strategies and solutions. I'm going to focus on talking to you today about multi-cloud. It's something that you're probably hearing a ton about. You're probably seeing some amazing statistics. Let me kick it off by just talking a tiny bit about Faction. We've been around quite a while. One of our core products is a multi-cloud data service. And so we're going to be really focused today on how you deal with cloud data. And we have something really unique, and you can think of it as a data service that is simultaneously attached to multiple clouds. So you could almost think of it as what looks like local storage in every cloud at the same time without making copies, the same copy of the data. We have over 300 petabytes of data now managed on our platform, growing pretty rapidly. We have partnered up with Dell and are a platinum partner there, and we actually are the technology platform that underpins the Dell Technologies cloud storage for multi-cloud offerings. We're a principal partner of VMware. We were the company they built their external storage integration for VMware Cloud and AWS with, as well as having some pretty reasonable chops in the cloud native space. As you can see, the AWS Advanced Consulting partner, likewise partnered with Azure and Google. So myself, I've been around the technology block for quite some time, everywhere from tiny startups to some big names like VMware and Exodus back in the day. Very technical, but also very oriented on the business challenges that drive multi-cloud. So let me just tell you, there are some really interesting and really fun to tackle problems being faced by enterprises today. So collaboration is one that we see, and we're going to get into some statistics here soon, but one thing we have consistently seen is that people are looking at dealing with multi-cloud challenges that are driven by collaboration either between multiple teams in the enterprise, right? It might be a marketing team that wants to use data to outreach customers, plus an operations team that wants to improve reliability or accessibility of a service. They end up needing the same data sets, but they don't necessarily want to use the same clouds or same cloud services. Likewise, we see people collaborating across organizations. So a great example being, we have a customer that does massive scale genomic analysis on our platform. And they were originally specifically in one cloud, but then they had a partner they wanted to partner up with who had a unique workflow for doing genomic analysis, but their software would only run on Google Cloud Platform. And so they had to find a way to make their data multi-cloud accessible, right? Another really big driver is all the things around innovation, digital transformation, and you're seeing just an incredible amount of innovation in public cloud today. You see it across hardware, where we see things like TPU chips, GPUs evolving in these platforms. You see it in software, where you see wide varieties of service for everything from data warehousing and data analytics to chatbots, IoT, you name it. Cost, of course, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of great reasons to move to the cloud and even be multi-cloud for some, but of course there are cost implications of all of that. And then, a big challenge we see with large data sets is governance, right? So while we see people having reasons to go multi-cloud, to move data to the cloud, to innovate faster, to do more with their data, we also see that going across multiple clouds, going hybrid and distributed cloud with some data in the data center also creates this challenge, because people end up having to ask, wait, where are all my copies of data? Who's supposed to have access to this? And keeping track of that data estate is a little bit of a challenge. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I want to talk a little bit about multi-cloud just from a statistical standpoint. There was an amazing survey that I really enjoyed reading through that HashiCorp published recently, right? They make Terraform and Nomad and a bunch of other really interesting tools for managing multi-cloud environments. 76% of enterprises are already multi-cloud. Somebody actually chimed into a Twitter thread from Gartner and commented that Gartner had the same number in their survey. The top driver, their digital transformation. So it really is this effort around innovation. That is music to my ears, because I've heard people talking about multi-cloud. Faction's been doing this for over 4 years now. And one of the things I used to hear was a lot of chatter about things like vendor lock-in. That just didn't make a lot of sense to me, because you're sort of stuck with a certain amount of lock-in no matter what you do. And I would hear people talk about splitting their workloads across Amazon and Azure to avoid lock-in, and I would joke that it's twice the lock-in. There is a lock-in about data, though, because it's hard to move large data sets, and many of our customers are operating at multi-petabyte scale. In fact, our kind of initial footprint is often north of a petabyte of data that's loaded into our platform. And so it's kind of expected to see a certain amount of lock-in because it's very hard to move a petabyte between clouds because of network limitations, which ties directly into that problem that Faction solves really well. So you see there's this interesting adoption really across enterprises of all sizes, but of course large enterprises being the most, frankly, because they have the most diversity, right? They have many, many teams running many, many apps with many, many drivers, sometimes entirely different business units. Somebody might make light bulbs and the other might make medical devices, and so they might use totally different clouds for different reasons. Of course, lower cost and larger scale, and the scale thing is becoming really intriguing as we see more large-scale, scale-out HPC workloads, and I'm going to focus on that. It could be genomic analysis, it could be machine learning training, it could be gigantic data warehouse queries, you name it. But there's some really interesting things there. Skills shortage, big challenge, inconsistent workflows, and of course something I hear about all the time, which is silos and poor collaboration. So, from our work with customers, I would say, like I mentioned in the previous slide, this need to partner with teams inside the organization, a need to partner with other orgs outside your org across clouds. Mergers and acquisitions is a huge driver for mixed cloud estates as well, right? You have a company that, say, uses Amazon as a primary cloud or a single cloud. Maybe they're very dedicated about their single cloud strategy. Maybe they have an internal cloud brokerage and they are really good at driving that. And so they are able to keep it consistent. But then they acquire a company, and that company built their whole stack on Azure. And so no matter what their intention was, they ended up multi-cloud through M&A. And it becomes very challenging sometimes to merge those estates easily, right? Data gravity is the biggest problem. When you get to past the hundreds of terabyte mark, and I would say, folks who have less than 100 terabytes of data, they tend to not be, dealing with the challenges of faction addresses directly. But as people get over into the hundreds of terabytes, they grow into several petabytes. I have, customers that are at the 100+ petabyte mark, and so, at that scale, it becomes incredibly difficult to move that, right? 100 gigabit link still takes, quite some time to move a petabyte of data, even if you can muster that and fully utilize it, which is tricky. It's hard and it's very multidisciplinary to have all the skill sets to solve this in any way yourself, right? Because to stitch together multiple clouds requires cloud skills, storage skills to deal with the data, network skills, compute, because you have to deal with things like the control plane, the administrative access to solve that. So we've actually had a lot of customers who were trying to solve this with an architecture they could build themselves, put into a data center like an Equinix in order to connect things up to multiple clouds. And it becomes a huge relief for them to be able to pass that off to us because there are so many different piece parts of making this work as a whole. And of course, from a software standpoint, yes, a software solution, those virtual appliances of sorts or software-defined storage solutions, they can do a certain piece part of this, but they don't allow your data to live outside of the clouds where you're running that appliance. And so ultimately, they end up being sort of fruitless for doing true multi-cloud. And of course, scale, right? The organizations we work with a lot are dealing with data challenges at a very large scale. And at petabyte scale, you run into some challenges where you find a lot of the solutions in the market just can't go that large. So from a use case standpoint, I've mentioned this HPC workloads. We have customers, for example, in the healthcare industry who are doing multi-petabyte PACS repositories, right? They want to do digital transformation. Say they have 100 hospitals, they're consolidating all their PACS systems into one or more clouds. When you get to that multi-petabyte scale, you find that a lot of competing solutions really top out with very low volume sizes, right? So if you're an organization that has, say, 3.5 petabytes of patient records, would you like to manage one single file store that presents multiple protocols where you can have all 3.5 petabytes live, or would you rather have 35 different volumes at around 100 terabytes or so, which is, for example, the limit of Azure file services. So that type of thing leads people, even in a single cloud environment, to go to Faction. Our throughput is astronomical as well. I link later on in this presentation to a white paper that ESG did, which kind of did an external validation of a lot of our sort of performance and scale questions. Even in our lab environment, we drove 20 gigabytes per second of throughput. To give some context, there are two different major competing file services you can use in Azure. Kind of sticking this example, that do less than 1/4 of that throughput. And this was my tiny lab environment used for a demo, right? And we can actually scale over 20x that as well. So gives you an idea of how large we can go when necessary. Powerful hybrid operations, so we support really fluid movement of data into and out of on-prem data centers. And of course, we don't support, we don't enable movement of data between clouds because you don't need to move data between clouds. It's accessible from all clouds simultaneously. But one thing that we do is we are the one and only provider who is capable of delivering a data service directly into VMware Cloud on AWS as a data store. So you can have a VMware Cloud and AWS cluster, or instead of having to buy additional hyper-converged nodes, you can actually attach an additional data store directly into that to scale up the storage platform, which is very neat. We have some incredibly powerful DR and Cyber Vault capabilities. Our Cyber Vault offering, example, has air gapping, write-only media, multi-cloud recovery, full orchestration where you have access to things like Dell PowerProtect software in order to do recovery operations. And it goes back multiple copies, many of which can't be touched, right? It's ultimately powered by the deduplication of data domain under the hood, which allows you to have many, many copies. And so ransomware goes to attack your system, they can never go and delete your sort of gold master copy of your data, right? They're writing incremental changes, but unlike many solutions, there's no way that they can corrupt that copy and stop you from recovering. On the multi-cloud side, very powerful things here like genomics and life sciences. We have many pharmaceutical and life science customers who are doing multi-cloud research, doing things like protein folding, genomic analysis, and so on. And the powerful part here is being able to take spot instances across hundreds of clouds. In that ESG white paper I mentioned, we Faction actually stood up a 7 petaflop multi-cloud supercomputer comprised purely of spot instances running 400 GPUs across all 3 major clouds in the US East region. And we showed that we could actually do massive scale genomic analysis at a fraction of the price you would pay for on-prem because the savings were so large from the spot instances. And we presented those findings at BioIT World as a new architecture for multi-cloud life science computing. Have some very large customers in the transportation logistics side. This is a great example of how it really enables multi-cloud, multi-team access, right? So they have multiple BUs, they have thousands of developers working on software applications because ultimately transportation and logistics is not really about trucks and planes, it's about software and understanding how to move things just in time. And all those teams, when you are kind of the holder of some critical data, it is absolutely critical that you make sure that all teams can access that data in the way that they need to. And we seamlessly enabled that. Because we can act as a backend for Kubernetes persistent volume claims, we enable multi-cloud Kubernetes where you can effectively SV motion, if you will, a container between clouds instantaneously. And then of course, just anything that really involves large data sets and collaboration we enable. So I'm going to do 3 views of our platform so you can kind of understand what this looks like. And this is the 30,000-foot view, right? You can have something on-prem, and for example, with the partnership we have with Dell, you can do bidirectional replication to and from our data services using all of the Dell hardware, PowerStore, Unity, PowerScale, those sorts of products. Totally optional to have that, but keep in mind there's never the charges to move data out of our platform, so it's a really powerful capability. Once you're in Faction on a cloud control volume, you're connected to the Faction Internetwork Exchange. It's a super high performance, high speed, low latency multi-cloud fabric built and operated. You noticed on our intro slide the 10 patents that we were talking about there, all basically tied to the performance and scalability of our network exchange. From there, you can provision as many swim lanes into clouds as you want at any scale without having to manage anything. And it looks very different than something like an Equinix ECX where you're still on the hook to do a whole bunch of work directly on the cloud provider, where you still need a router on your side, where you have to manage a BGP session, where you have to know all these things, that sort of things. So really powerful here, but let's drill down a level and just look a little bit more about the platform, right? I'm going to take you to the 20,000-foot view, right? And on the top here, I'm talking about some of the use cases, right? We are enabling AI and ML. We're enabling scale-out HPC. We're enabling this petabyte scale unstructured and file needs. Some of our offerings do include object access as well, right? So your cloud-native applications are covered, including multi-protocol. that collaboration across clouds. And then everything in this orange box here is a faction managed thing, right? And so we have these different types of back-end storage pools, anything from an elite tier, which could be literally delivering hundreds of thousands or millions of IOPS, down to an archive tier that is optimized for cost. Some of folks using our data protection, we have one customer using our data protection CCV, which they are getting, and I'm not going to promise that everybody gets this by any stretch, but as a one single bullet point, they're getting 102.5 to 1 deduplication, and their effective cost is less than an Amazon Glacier Deep Archive. That's the less than a tenth of a cent per gigabyte offering. So incredibly powerfully, inexpensive on the archive side there potentially. Many of our offerings are multi-protocol, but whether you need NFS, SMB, HDFS, S3 object access, block storage, like mounted over iSCSI, or a CSI driver for your Kubernetes environment, we can cover all of those. I really want to highlight, though, what I've tagged here as number 4, which doesn't look quite like it did in my original slide, but this cloud data processing service. So this is flexible compute that you can use for data processing needs. And while we do have customers that have hundreds of hosts that run very large environments with us, and we are one of VMware's largest service providers, the emphasis here that I'm placing on this is not about running a huge compute environment in Faction. The key here, though, is that if you want to build complex multi-cloud architectures, you often find that it is absolutely necessary to have some level of compute in the middle between the clouds to do things. And I'll give you one example just out of the myriad that I have. We had one customer that had an incredibly complex Azure environment that was leveraging our data services. Many hub and spoke networks, right? They were using Azure's hub and spoke topology with VNet peering, and they wanted to tie that into our fabric. And they had opted to deploy Aviatrix as a software-defined networking solution throughout their Azure environment. Well, with a lot of data services that would be competitive to our solution, there's just no way that you can extend that type of software-defined networking out into the surface. In our case, they were able to deploy an Aviatrix appliance directly into our compute. Tiny cost for that because it's completely fractional. It's just deployed as a virtual appliance, but that allows them to stitch it directly into that data fabric and have access with their same software-defined networking in Azure tied back into our data service. And I'm going to drop you down to the 10,000-foot view here where things get to be even a little bit more complicated. So you're going to notice here, and the thing I want to draw your attention to first is that you'll see across each of the cloud providers on top, there's that construct of Google Interconnect, Azure Express Route, Amazon Direct Connect. You'll notice that's sitting inside the Faction managed box, right? This is fully managed where you're going to our portal, you're providing us like an Amazon account ID, and we are provisioning that Direct Connect link directly into your environment. And that's it. There's nothing more for you to buy, configure, or manage, including a BGP session. There's no virtual appliances or physical routers. There's no colo stack, right? So much complexity is removed. It's just a service. It's just a business outcome, multi-cloud accessible data. You'll notice we portray here this virtual fabric and a virtual sub-fabric. The idea here is you can kind of carve this access between the data services and the clouds up into multiple domains if necessary. And we support all kinds of fun tricks here. Like in this case, we show a secure access service edge being used for remote access by remote users over the internet that goes into an appliance deployed on our processing system, but then ties back into the data service. You'll notice in the middle here, we're showing this red line that shows transitive routing. So when you go to the portal, there's a simple checkbox that says, yes, I want to enable routing between the clouds. So not only are you getting multi-cloud access back to the same data set, the same data that doesn't need to move, we can actually automatically enable this routing so your Azure environment, your Amazon environment, your Google environment can talk to each other. In that ESG validation paper, we use that for our multi-cloud genomic processing cluster. So the cluster manager in Azure could actually manage instances directly across this backplane network in Google and Amazon. This can be an incredible simplifier. Can you imagine how easy it is to have direct routing between your Amazon and Azure environment? You don't actually have to deal with managing that. Obviously, the cloud providers themselves took a long time launching services that provide transitive routing even in their own cloud properties, and we enable that not only at a multi-cloud level, but if you were to have multiple connections to different Amazon VPCs, we can bridge the routing between those as well. So it's an incredibly powerful thing. And of course, we can have multiple data services of different tiers with different types of protocols across this environment. So I'm going to tell you, Faction is the fast path to great multi-cloud options, right? Outcomes. The first thing here, lower costs. I just stole this screenshot out of that ESG paper I've referenced a few times. You'll notice there's 3 clouds on the left. you'll notice the cost of faction here is less than any one of those, and it's 10x less than the three of them put together. So incredible cost savings over. You're going to hear many types of competitive services talk about how you work in any cloud, and they may, but they're going to work there with 3 copies, one for every cloud. And you're going to pay 10x the amount of money that you would have a single copy, which is instantly and simultaneously in sync at all times across all clouds. Simplified operations and governance. Hopefully you can see this screenshot of the portal and just see how simple and easy it is to use the portal or the API to provision your network swim lanes into Amazon, Azure, or Google. We also support Oracle now. Incredibly optimized for speed. You're going to see here that our latency, round trip latency, and this is pings from instances running on instances in each of these CSPs back to our data services platform. You'll see they range from 0.7 milliseconds up to a high of 1.5 milliseconds. And I can tell you actually that happens to be the slowest availability zone I got in Amazon, because in US East it's 0.9 milliseconds to 1.5. That's actually the high water mark. And finally, this experience, the flexibility integration. We're not just leaving you with a data service. We have a bevy of documents that cover not only the architectural decisions you make on the cloud side, constructing multi-cloud, but much more interesting integration. So we can talk to you and document for you how to do things like integrate cloud control volume with Amazon SageMaker, to integrate a cloud control volume across multiple Databricks workspaces, for example, running in Amazon and Azure. And I actually have a demo where I can show somebody training a model in Databricks and Azure and see model version 1. Somebody else using a different Databricks workspace in Azure can click train and then get model version 2, because the model repository and artifact repository live on Faction's backend. So they stay in sync simultaneously through our data service. Totally cool stuff. So I would say if you have a large data set and you're interested in cloud or multi-cloud, please check us out. Hopefully this is a compelling whet your appetite moment. And with that, I am happy to answer questions. I'll start with this one about egress fees. Great question. So across the 4 cloud providers, you've got Amazon, Azure, Google, Oracle. For Azure and Oracle, our service is 100% egress free, coming from the cloud provider to Faction. Taking data into Faction, never a charge. Taking data out of Faction, never a charge. Amazon and Google still apply egress charges to data that you send to Faction from those cloud providers. However, I will say if you have something like an Amazon EDP, your discounts from your AWS EDP apply to those charges. They'll accrue directly to your account. They're applied to your VPC. I'll also add that in many cases, we find that our customers are already paying some sort of data transfer fee. So example, they're sending data through an AWS transit gateway. Because of the flexibility of our platform and the fact that a customer can actually bifurcate their connectivity extent and swim lanes from Faction's platform into 10 or 15 or 20 VPCs at the same time, it actually makes it possible for them to bypass the transit gateway cost, and the egress ends up being neutral anyways, because they just go from paying a transit fee inside of Amazon to paying an egress fee to cross direct connect. So very interesting question. Data center locations, we don't really deal with anything in Mexico today. So somebody asked about locations. We have 3 locations we do these core data services sets from in the U.S., which is, Pacific Northwest, California, Virginia, U.S. East, U.S. West. We're also in London, Frankfurt, and Sydney. More locations coming soon, especially internationally. And we've got a map on our website, so that's factioninc.com, and I would check it out. So somebody asked a question about Dell Apex. And no, I would say they're definitely not moving away from Faction. Can't talk too much about futures, right? Some of that goes into the NDA. Thank you for saying it's a great offering. Actually, I love running into people who are familiar with it already. But no, and I think Apex fills a really interesting hole. Like people really, aside from the service angle, people want to consume storage as a service wherever it is. Even if you wanted storage in your own data center, the idea that you could just have somebody worry about it soup to nuts, without you putting any effort into it and having somebody like deploy it and manage it, from cradle to grave is still something that really appeals today, right? We're getting much more towards a services model. Somebody asked about the difference between multiple clouds and multi-cloud. Thank you for that. And that's like my catchphrase now. I feel like this is my, I could like trademark this and everybody would need to pay me royalties, right? Multiple clouds is not multi-cloud. And the huge difference here is it's one thing to have applications and things stretched across multiple clouds. And I don't really care if you want to call it multi-cloud, but the fact that you've got some app in Amazon, a different app in Azure, and some data in Salesforce, that's not multi-cloud the way that I think about it. The way I think about multi-cloud is using multiple clouds simultaneously to gain a strategic advantage. The thing that I highlight with genomic processing, that's a fantastic example of true multi-cloud because you're able to use spot instances to scale up this huge, massive GPU cluster, this supercomputer, across all those clouds at the same time. And the challenge with doing that in a single cloud is it's very easy for a single cloud to preempt all of your spot instances, and then your capacity is zero. If you have access to the spot instance pool across all three clouds, you're getting the best price, you're getting the capacity of all three clouds, and you're totally protected against the fact that one of them might have that instance type preempted down to zero. And in our white paper research, we actually totally had that happen. We had literally almost 300 GPUs in Azure that went to zero literally in 1 minute. And then when that happened, I could not even turn up a single on-demand instance, let alone a spot instance. So it's a real challenge. Great questions. Appreciate that. Yeah, data gravity, major problem. Somebody asked about what are the different approaches for governance from the context of data gravity. Very, very interesting question about that. So I kind of put them in two different parts, right? Data gravity is the thing that stops you from having like one holistic repository for data. Once you get to the faction model, which is one copy of data accessible from everywhere at once without any sort of performance penalty, now governance is simplified because instead of needing a tool set for every cloud and a sort of set of metadata and governance for every copy across every cloud, et cetera, you have one centralized copy that you can use, one tool, one set of governance that applies to that. And so you simplify things just because you reduce your data sprawl or eliminate your data sprawl. And so not having to have many copies and all this bifurcation, the same thing applies from a scale standpoint, right? I used that example earlier, 3.5 petabytes in a single volume versus 3,500 terabyte volumes. Well, it's a lot harder to manage governance and metadata and access on 35 different volumes. That's 35 times the overhead for your IT teams, for your tools, versus a single volume where you can manage one holistic policy.
Matt, I'm afraid we're running out of time for our live Q&A here, but really great questions, excellent answers. There's a lot more electronic questions there in the queue for you. Maybe you can respond to, but we really appreciate you being on. I learned a lot. I'm sure the audience did as well.
Yeah, appreciate the time, and hope everybody's interest is piqued and you go dig in a little more.
Absolutely. Yeah, I encourage everyone to check out the PDF resource. It's there in your handouts tab from Faction entitled, What is a Multi-Cloud Data Service? A really well done resource, I must say. Cool, some really cool graphics. So make sure that you check that out. There's a lot of stats in here and everything. Great resource there in the handouts tab. I'll leave up the slides window there with the poll and let everyone respond to that while I announce our next Amazon $500 gift card. This is going to Adria Hale from Illinois. Congratulations, Adria Hale from Illinois. We have a lot more grand prizes and gift cards still to give out on the Megacast today. But now it's time for our next presentation. I'm excited now to bring in Joe Kelly, Cloud Solutions Architect, and Brian Mislavsky, Technical Product Manager at Rubric. Joe and Brian, are you there?
We're here.
Great to have you on the Megacast. Yeah, take it away.
All right. All right, so welcome everyone. My name is Joe Kelly again. I'm a Cloud Solutions Architect with Rubric. We have Brian Mislavsky as well. He's the Technical Product Manager at Rubric. I'll be going through a few slides here, and then we'll jump into a demo that Brian will present. So we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so in case you don't know, Rubric is a cloud data management company. What that means is not only do we back up and protect workloads on premises and in the cloud, but we also enable our customers to really get more out of their data. We've been around for a little over 7 years now with well over 1,600 employees and over 2,500 customers across the globe. We are one of the fastest growing enterprise companies in Silicon Valley history. And as of this year, Gartner placed us again as a leader in the Magic Quadrant with the best completeness of vision. So why are companies adopting Rubric? We make backup recovery simple, so both from an operational perspective and an architectural perspective. However, it goes deeper than that. We also understand what's top of mind for our customers, so whether it's to drive operational efficiency, ransomware protection, security, governance, or cloud mobility. Our product really solves for all these value drivers. We are hearing from our customers that there are really three major imperatives for their data as they proceed through their own transformation, digital transformation. First thing is they want to modernize and automate data management so they can scale better. The second is they are on a path to the cloud, like most of us. They're moving from on-premises to a single cloud, to a hybrid or multi-cloud, and they want their data management solution to be able to support and scale with them along that path. And third thing is they want to get more from their data, right? They want to make sure that their data is compliant with regulations, and that most of all, they want their data to be secure from ransomware. We're also hearing from customers that their legacy data protection systems are just not prepared for the future. So often they're complex, and over the years they've wound up with hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs to maintain. These same legacy systems suffer from slow and inconsistent recovery, and they often don't leverage advancements in instant recovery. And not to mention they can be expensive. And so modernizing and automating their data protection solution is where Rubrik customers start getting immediate benefits. So if you look at the backup and recovery space, not much has really changed in the last 20 or 30 years. You have large levels of complexity across multiple components, from backup software to server infrastructure to those processes that just don't scale to meet your infrastructure requirements. Unfortunately, this legacy technology acts as a blocker to any kind of modernization initiatives you have in place. As you migrate to the cloud, this architecture begins to break down. It does not natively integrate with the cloud. It's not built for automation. It's typically insecure by design. And so our vision was to modernize backup, recovery, archive, and DR. And really the success of our platform was enabled by these three principles. One being native integration with the cloud, two, leveraging automation and orchestration, and then three, data security no matter where that data lives. And so what we do is we take everything you see and converge that into a single software fabric that's built for the cloud. Easy to use, scale, automate, and inherently secure by design. And so as a result, we help our customers save on costs by increasing their productivity, reducing downtime, and natively integrating with AWS, Azure, and GCP for more efficient operations. So how do we do it? Everything about Rubrik is centered around ease of use and simplicity at scale. We're kind of gone are the days of scheduling backup jobs, blackouts, and exclusions. Rubrik's going to automate the way you do backups with our SLA-based policy engine. And so that's going to dramatically reduce the hours you spend hand-holding your backups. Second, again, we are built for the cloud. We built a ton of innovations in the cloud with archival, instantiation, and general protection. And we built in automation into every aspect of our solution. So we have robust APIs and SDKs that allow you to integrate Rubrik with your other tools and workflows. And then lastly, everything on Rubrik is going to be encrypted and secure. So with Rubrik, once data is written, it can never be changed. That makes the data secure and immutable to ransomware attacks. So here's how it works. Just state how often you want to take backups. That would be your frequency. And then how long you need to keep them. That would be your retention. Then decide when you want to archive or replicate and where you want to archive and replicate. And so we have one policy that effectively covers the entire data lifecycle. You can assign these SLAs across on-prem and cloud, and as environments scale, Rubrik's going to automatically discover and apply those policies to those resources. So from a cloud perspective, our customers are using Rubrik to accelerate their cloud uses. So from left to right here, we have what's referred to as Cloud Out, which is Cloud Archive. And so we typically see customers use Rubrik to use Cloud First for long-term data retention. They send and store data cost effectively in the cloud with the ability to be able to search that data from on-premises. Second is Cloud On. So once that data is in the cloud, customers within that archive, customers can instantiate a cloud environment through automated conversion of VMBKs or VHDs into native cloud disk formats. That third column there, that refers to that cloud workload protection. That's under the context of Cloud Cluster. And Cloud Cluster is essentially our Rubric cloud data management software running on a virtual instance within GCP, Azure, and AWS. So there's several kind of use cases as it relates to Cloud Cluster and where it would fit. Perhaps you're running databases in guests where more granular protection mechanisms are needed, so think like log-based backups. Or maybe you just want Cloud Cluster to be a replication target for your primary cluster or Rubric cluster that's on premises. Maybe you're an AVS or VMC customer. Then Cloud Cluster is how we would protect those workloads. Or maybe you're a federal or dark site customer that can't utilize our SaaS-based offering, Polaris, which I'll talk about here in a minute. This solution, Cloud Cluster, is generally an agent-based solution using our RBS agent, except in the case of AVS and VMC. And some of the recent advancements with Cloud Cluster allow us to write directly to object-based storage to reduce costs. If you want to take a look at Rubric CDM, you can go out to Azure and the AWS Marketplace, and you can grab a copy of that and be to your own devices, I guess. Last but not least, on the right there, we have Cloud Native Protection. This is via our Polaris SaaS-based platform. So once you're up and running in AWS, we provide this native protection as a service. So we can initiate and orchestrate via cloud native compute, native compute and storage APIs from the cloud provider themselves. For hybrid cloud enterprises, Rubric is going to abstract away a lot of the complexity of managing those data protection solutions for on-premise and cloud environments. So we've designed our solutions so that data is owned and always under control, and it never leaves your account. Just a little bit more on how we intelligently use data in the cloud. So we do source-side dedupe compression, first full, incremental forever. So we're only sending needed data to the cloud while maintaining knowledge of that information stored and where, so retrieval is going to be quick and without added time and hassle. And so like I said earlier, if we see not only the data but the metadata as well, so the where, the when, and the how, and this is what lets us get more out of that data. So one of those areas of getting more is to help mitigate data risk. So the first area is ransomware mitigation. Some of the issues we're seeing with ransomware, when it comes to ransomware recovery, it turns out your backup is really no longer your last line of defense. You often assume that your backup data was actually backed up, but it turns out that it's just as vulnerable to cyber attack. Moreover, one of the biggest problems of ransomware is that it often takes hours, if not days, to figure out what the blast radius is or how many files are affected. And so recovery becomes virtually impossible. Figuring out exactly what point to recover from, finding the affected files, and being able to restore across your entire organization with a legacy solution can be impossible. And so we've introduced really a new way. Actually, did I skip the slide here? Yep, sorry. So actually, we've introduced a new way to help solve the ransomware problem by way of our radar solution. We can detect anomalies, discover files that have been altered or deleted or added because of ransomware, and then we let you easily find them and restore them with one click. Recovery from ransomware is super easy in this case, and with Rubrik's immutable storage, you're always assured of having an unaffected copy of your data. And then the final area I'll mention is data governance. Rubrik can discover sensitive, personally identifiable information and information subject to regulations that's hiding in your unstructured data. So this helps you create an inventory to support current and future data privacy regulations, and even the ability to be able to customize policies and analyzers to your own unique requirements. So similar to ransomware recovery, we leverage your existing backup data, which ultimately allows you to drive more from that data. All right. So some of the next steps here, you can head over to rubric.com for all the great content that we have available over there for our solutions and products. Forward 2021, which is our customer-based conference, was a few months ago. You can go out there. Registration is required, but it is free. So please go out there, check, and take a look at some of those sessions that took place during Forward itself. We also have Camp Rubric. You can get hands-on experience with our guided demos from some of our best and brightest to kind of see where we're headed. And then thirdly, Available on the AWS and Azure Marketplace. You can test our software, our Rubric Cloud Cluster. You wouldn't be able to test our Polaris-based offering because that is SaaS-based, but you would be able to test Cloud Cluster. GCP, Cloud Cluster on GCP Marketplace is coming in the first half of 2022. And then finally, our backup modernization assessment. So these are performed through selected partners, but it will walk you through some of the cost savings, ransomware risk analysis, and modernization benefits you can gain from our solution. All right, now we'll jump into a demo with Brian. Brian?
Hey, how's everyone doing? Today I am going to give a quick demo of our Polaris solution and cover some of the topics that Joe mentioned in his slides. So let me get my... All right, so this is Polaris GPS. This is a central dashboard where we have a single place to see all events, reports, a quick hit top-level view across your entire environment, both on-prem and off-prem. I'm just going to go in order across the top. Polaris is a central place. Again, this is pure SaaS. Polaris is a location that lets you manage your entire inventory. So for those that have physical bricks across multiple locations, this is a single place to view all your Rubrik clusters, regardless of where they are. You can actually drill down into them, get some metadata, get some actual data and metrics as to the actual performance and capacity reports of your bricks. Taking that one step further, and Joe's presentation covered a lot of cloud native workloads and protection and the direction where Rubrik is headed. So under inventory, you can now fully see the full gamut of platforms and applications and services that Rubrik is protecting. So for example, from the single place in Polaris, you can see Microsoft 365, AWS, both EC2 and RDS, your Azure, GCP, as well as your on-prem SQL, Windows, Linux, VMware, Nutanix, HV, so on and so forth. So this is a single place to see everything in your environment from a hybrid cloud perspective. The one thing that's really important here is, for example, let's drill down into AWS EC2. In this demo environment, we have a single account, we have multiple instances. Now, what happens if you have multiple accounts? Traditionally, you have to log in each account, manage protection, do things. If you have internal automation tools, you'll have to make sure that you account for them accordingly. With Polaris, we have the ability to implement something called global SLAs, which are similar to our on-premises SLAs, but in a much grander scale. You can take one and actually create something called tag rules. So now, if you were to have, in this example, multiple AWS accounts, regardless of region, location, so on and so forth, you can create a rule based on the tag associated with them and apply an SLA. I'm not going to actually create one here. But what will happen is you can actually assign it directly to that tag, meaning any EC2 instance in any account that's seen by Polaris will inherit that baseline protection according to that SLA based on its tag. So when Polaris does a discovery of an account, it will actually pick it up, say, okay, and apply the SLA. Going back one further, same thing will hold true for GCP, vSphere, any other protected environment. Now, when we get to SLAs, these are actually the really powerful tool for that we can view from Polaris. So we have the ability to create these global SLAs. What does that mean? You can create a protection guideline that actually adheres to business rules. So regardless of what the data you're trying to protect is, you can create a multi-platform SLA. So for example, if I were to create a VMware and a EC2 SLA, take it once a day for seven days. You can create some archival settings here, depending on what they are. Same thing with replication. If you configure replication, you can actually set where you want to send it to, how long you want to keep it for at the replicated site, advanced settings for virtual machines. Give it a name, and that's it. So if you were to give it a name, if you created an SLA that adheres to business logic and business rules, you can actually apply it regardless of where you are what it is you're trying to protect, so on and so forth. So global SLAs are really that important and key part of that automation story as to where we're going to protect data across your entire infrastructure, whether it's on-prem, off-prem, native SaaS applications. For example, Microsoft 365, you can actually manage your, again, live demo, SharePoint, Teams, Exchange, OneDrive, View, everything you have, protected in the same single pane of glass that you do with the rest of your standard infrastructure. Events from Polaris, you can actually see all events, again, same thing across your entire environment, regardless of what they are, where they are, filter, sort, so on and so forth. Reporting, this is actually really key as well. You can actually pull compliance reports. I want to see how my data is being protected according to SLAs that we've defined across my entire infrastructure, both on-prem and off-prem. You can customize reports and export them, the pre-canned ones, and then there's some additional ones as well. One thing as well that's really cool with Polaris and really powerful is this would be like search. If I were to search for something that Joe did, I can actually see any and all resources that either have his name, a tag, so on and so forth, in there and across on-prem environments, off-prem environments, so on and so forth. So that global search is there the same way it is on-prem with our solutions. Next things I wanted to cover real quick, Joe mentioned ransomware. So he touched on Radar. When Rubric protects data, we do take a look at metadata and keep track of changes, behaviors, patterns in the data that's being protected. When we know that when the machine learning engine learns of something that's out of the ordinary, it will effectively declare an anomaly. Here you go. This example is it's detected some anonymous file system activity. You can actually drill down, see what happened, when it happened, what files were impacted. You can export a list. Sorry, I'm zooming a little bit. You can export a list. You can actually investigate the snapshot, which means you can export a snapshot of the affected data or impacted files for further analysis later, as well as collect an audit log. Again, this is all SaaS. The only thing Rubrik keeps track of is metadata. All data still resides in customer-owned accounts in your on-prem infrastructure, if that's the case. Now, what about the data that you don't know about? So that's where Sonar comes in. Sonar provides us the ability, again, pure SaaS using analyzers based on some predefined guidelines. For example, well, I'm trying to get the little mouse over to work. You have a PII from a U.S. perspective, credit card, social securities, UK, HIPAA, financial data, so on and so forth. What this will actually do is, in the same vein as Radar, keep track of data, of metadata in your backups, and actually scan for those things using what we call analyzers. So, for example, this backup we found 52,000 sensitive hits. It'll actually show you the files, the individual files that were impacted, what the data was. You can download a list for further processing, so on and so forth, and then take action on them. You can see what users did have access to it, any operations that have occurred, permissions, so on and so forth. Another added benefit for Sonar is you can actually create custom analyzers. So if you have internal corporate data or IDs or any other names that you'd like to create a regex for, you can put that in and create an analyzer and search your data. So you're not limited to the classifications that we have here. That's a really high-level overview of Polaris from a demo perspective. We could deep dive into any topic that people want to cover on a further date. But with that, we can go to some questions. I see there's a few of them.
While we do that, I'm just going to bring up this poll for everyone out there that says, what additional information would you like about the Rubrik solution? And Brian, if you don't mind stopping your screen share there. There we go. That way, yeah, the poll will come back. Excellent. Yeah, so everyone can see the poll on the screen. Let's see, first question I did want to ask you comes from Chad. He's asking about how will Rubrik's new partnership with Microsoft impact the current and future customers?
Brian, you want to take that one?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that it's obviously positive. They have a lot of faith in Rubric, as we do. I think you'll start seeing more partnerships and alignment in regards to solutions moving forward, and I think it's pretty evident right now with our large customer base. We have Azure, AWS, Google, but I think that you'll start seeing some solutions that are hitting Microsoft first. For example, with our 6.0 release, we introduced immutability, the ability to natively integrate with Microsoft Azure immutable storage. So we can actually take the immutability storage from on-prem to off-prem for your archives. So things like that.
Excellent. Another question here comes from Sharon, who's asking, is Rubrik doing zero trust data management?
They are. Yeah, our architecture is kind of modeled after zero trust implementation model from NIST, and so we do provide that immutable file system. It's called Atlas, and so once that data is actually written to that file system, it can never be changed. So in effect, it is immutable. So we do follow that zero trust model.
Very nice. Let's see. Next question. Charu is asking, what sort of automation are you using, and which one is more convenient to work on Google, Azure, or AWS?
Yeah. We are API first, so we do have SDKs available on our public GitHub. You can leverage things PowerShell, Python, Terraform, and you can actually automate on-prem CDM clusters as well as cloud clusters, and I believe there's a Polaris Terraform module coming out, if it's not already there. But in addition to that, the ability to leverage global SLAs and tag rules and things to that effect, at least from a Polaris standpoint, you have some native automation built into it, and we're always looking to improve upon that too.
And I would say all our partnerships with the cloud providers that we support are very convenient to work with.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'm afraid we're running out of time in our live Q&A here. There's a lot more electronic questions. If folks want to get started with Rubric, what do you recommend?
Definitely head out to www.rubric.com. That'll be a great place for you to get started. You can certainly get a hold of us, myself, Joe Kelly, and Brian Mislowski, and we can get you engaged with the account team in your area.
Excellent. All right. Well, it's been great having you on. Thank you so much, Joe and Brian. Great presentation. Really love the cool demo as well. We'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, David. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks to everyone out there in the audience who responded to the poll as well. The URL that Joe mentioned, rubric.com, it's right there in the handouts tab, so make sure that you check that out as well. So I'll leave up the poll for everyone to respond to while I announce our next prize winners. These are for, first off, an Amazon $500 gift card. This is going to Peter Boca from California. And our second grand prize winner for another Apple M1 iPad Pro, this is going to Miles Redman from Colorado. Congratulations to all the prize winners. All right, and with that, it's now time for our next presentation on today's Megacast. I'm excited now to bring in Joseph Carson, Chief Security Scientist at Thycotic. Joseph, take it away.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joseph Carson, Chief Security Scientist and Advisory CISO here at Thycotic, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today. And I'm here to talk about a very important topic, one that's been discussed for many years and has been a challenge for many organizations. And it's been also the cause of many data breaches and security incidents over the past couple of years, specifically even more on the ransomware side as well. And that is the pain of passwords. And yes, many of you might be looking at password managers to help you solve that challenge today, but I'm here to give you a vision and how you can look and go beyond password managers, how you can get into much more automation, how you can get much more value and make security usable within the organization. So let me take you through that journey, and hopefully you get a lot of education and value from that today. First thing is the reality check. We have to actually take a step back and think about what is our security strategy? What is our goal? And one thing I've realized over the last couple of years is that while I'm a cybersecurity professional and that's what I do, however, it's not my job. My job is to understand and listen to the business, listen to organizations and understand the risk, understand about how can we reduce the risk, how can we make security enable the business, make it more efficient, how can we actually help the employees be successful. And that's really what security is all about. It's no longer just about a checkbox or a silo that is just focused about keeping technology running. It's about keeping the business running. Security is no longer just about keeping computers and systems. Many parts of the business is digitalized. That is very dependent and reliant on technology to keep it running and functioning. And that means that security is essential to the business. It's essential to making sure keeping the business operational. And we have to understand more about listening to employees, about listening to the business leaders and understanding about what their goals are. And we must align security to the business goals, to how they measure success. Because our job is to help them be successful. And that's the reality check. And it's a fine balance between productivity and security, especially for employees who every day have to make tough choices. They have to make sure that when they're doing their job, when they're faced with challenges about whether that is going to help them be successful in meeting their business goals or not, they will always take the easy path. They will always take the path that helps them be successful in their business goals. It might not be the secure path, and that means that many employees are making risky choices, risky decisions every single day to help the business be successful. And let's make sure that we actually remove that choice, that we remove that challenge, that we make it less of a choice that they have to decide on, that we help make security usable. Every time you're going to implement a new security solution, we have to step back and think about what are we replacing? And if what we're replacing, are we making it better? Is that security solution or strategy helping make it better for the employee? Making security usable, making it work in the background and help them be successful. And that's the fine balance between productivity and security. And that's our job to find that, to make sure that we're doing that. And unfortunately, for many organizations, yes, passwords today are still one of the most challenging and for, unfortunately, some of the most only security controls protecting sensitive systems. And we still rely on employees making those decisions, choosing long passwords, complex passwords, passphrases, secrets. We're still dependent on employees making those decisions. And it's one that's critical. It's one that if an attacker is able to gain access to an account, whether it being a standard account, a local administrator account, or a service account, or a privilege account, that could be a major catastrophe for the business. That simple password breach or leak or compromise can lead to a major ransomware incident. And we have to make sure that we actually remove this password pain, that we help and look for ways to move passwords into the background, to become less dependent on them, to help employees focus at doing their job and not having to manage passwords. That's what I'm here to help you do today and take you through that. And one of the biggest causes of cyber fatigue for employees is remembering and changing passwords. Every time there's a new data breach on the news, other organizations tell their employees they need to change their passwords. That's a challenge. And many employees have no longer just one or two passwords and accounts to change. That means they've got many. They might have 10, 20, 30 or more. And that becomes a major issue and time consuming. We have to remember that what's our most valuable asset today? It's not gold and oil. It's not Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. Our most valuable asset that we have is time. Is we have only a limited amount of time in this planet, in this life. And it means that we have to think about how can we reduce wasted time? How can we give more time back to the employees to be doing the things that helps the business, that helps them be successful, and not wasting time and rotating and changing and remembering and selecting passwords. Time is our most valuable asset, and anything that reduces wasted time is value to the business. And that's what we're here to help you do. So getting into what are some of the most common mistakes that you should avoid. Here's my top 5. Number 1 is using the same password everywhere. This is a major mistake that is very common across organizations. Many employees and many of your employees today probably had the same password for their social media account as they do for their Active Directory, as they do for the SaaS account or VPN or their email accounts. Maybe even for their bank account, using that same password everywhere. And that's a major mistake. We have to make sure that that's not even possible. We have to make sure that we make it possible that it's unique everywhere and very unique and complex. How do we help reward the employees with that type of solution? How do we make sure that they don't have to use the same password everywhere? That they don't have to make those password choices? They don't have to be accountable for creating those. How can we move it into the background and help automate that? Number 2 is creating passwords that contain personal data. Another major common mistake. A lot of employees, when they're having to, log in or register a new account for a system, and they're thinking about, how can I create a new complex password? And they go to the easy choice, that easy path. I need to do it quick. I need to do it fast. I need to log into the system to do a process that helps the business. How can I do that? I don't want to be wasting my time spending minutes trying to think about a new, long, complex password. And many of them result in choosing data that's personal, that's easy to remember, that's close to them. And they'll use techniques that will fulfill those password complexities, an uppercase, lowercase, and a number, maybe a special character. And unfortunately, making it too easy for attackers to use password cracking or word lists that will actually help guess those passwords. So another major common mistake that we have today. Next thing is about sharing passwords with family, friends, and coworkers, which has become very common today. Unfortunately, many employees are working remotely or maybe working from a device that cannot access, or the browser doesn't support it, or some functionality is broken on their system. And to get the job done, they need a colleague or a peer to log in and do that for them. And they'll share it through messaging apps, through social media. They'll share it through text messages or email in order to get the job done. They will take those risks. As I mentioned, they're measured on business and their goals that they're measured on for success, and will do what needs to be done to meet those. And that means taking risks. How can we help them share things securely and delegate access? How can we help them make sure that they're able to actually share passwords that have limited time and share access that can expire and rotate so those others do not continue having access to that accounts or data? That's my mistake number 3. Number 4, storing passwords in the browser. Another major mistake that many employees do. The browsers are asking for it. Every time you log into a system, it's like, I want your password. Save it here. We will save it so you don't have to remember it. We'll help you choose a complex one for you. But unfortunately, the default in browsers is security is turned off. And if you use a browser for storing passwords with no additional security, it's just like storing it in the desktop in a text file. It's just in a different location. That means if the attacker ever gains access to your system, they simply open the browser with no additional security, they look at the passwords, and they see everything in clear text. And that might be your organization's Active Directory, your VPN, your SaaS applications, access to your cloud infrastructure, your corporate legal system, your accounting system, your HR system. They might be storing that in the browser with no additional security. Another major mistake and challenge that organizations face. And number 5 is never changing your password. This, we have to look at it from a risk-based approach. What is it you're protecting? And is a password the only security control? This means we have to remember that if an organization has a breach or that password has been leaked or compromised, that attackers might have access to other systems from that. So it's really important that you do change and choose that rotation of passwords based on the risk of the system that you're protecting. So let's take a look. For many organizations to deal with these password challenges, they've been looking at different solutions and different techniques in order to help employees manage this challenge. So in the past, and even including myself, I've been using password managers for years. I started using my first password manager back in, I think it was around 2001, 2002. And it's been great. It's helped me do my job. It's helped me automate. It's helped me focus on reduce wasted time. It's helped me focus on the things that actually matter more. And password managers come with great functionality, such as being either cloud-based or local systems. They have integrations into the browser to help you automate, remember, and select complex passwords. They have some integrations with two-factor authentication. When you need to fill in a form, it will help you actually auto-fill it in so you're not typing and copy and pasting. It will help you actually have password strength checkers, and actually every, depending on the system's security controls for passwords, it will help you make sure that actually creating a strong password for each system. Because of course, not every registration and password page is equal in regards to the security, and it will help you create better choices for each of those by auto-generating passwords and also helping you check the password age so you know when's a good time to rotate that password. And some come with limited sharing capabilities. But organizations, you need to go beyond password managers. They're great for consumer, great for personal use, but businesses need to go beyond password managers. They've been great up until a few years ago, but they have several weaknesses and major weaknesses because password managers still rely on employees to make the right decisions. It's still delegating accountability and responsibility to the employee. They still have to self-manage it. It's still something the employee will have to remember and do, and takes time. You end up with no discovery, meaning that you get inconsistent results. It might be managing only certain elements. You might not have visibility or reporting capability to see whether the employee is making the right security decisions for passwords. It's also got no central policy enforcement, lack of integration, and you'll result with inconsistent security across different people. The employees will be configuring and setting those policies and settings themselves, choosing when to rotate passwords. So it's really important that we make sure that we help remove the password pain. It's giving them a tool to help them be better at creating and managing passwords, but it's still wasting their time. It's still meaning that they're accountable and responsible for making those decisions. We need to move security into the background, and we need to make security usable. And to do that, we need to help reward the employees with a better solution. One that has better integrations, more consistent security. And many organizations to do so have been moving to privileged account management. Privileged account management takes a lot of those password management features and functionalities and moves it centrally. And what does that enable you to do? Enables you with high availability, more consistent security controls, centralized policy management, helping you meet compliance and regulatory security controls such as PCI compliance, ISO standards, GDPR, NIST framework. It provides automated discovery so you can get visibility across both your on-premise, your SaaS, your cloud. Make sure you have transparency. Discovery helps you get visibility. It gives you role-based access to, depending on people's jobs, that they will have visibility into the different accounts that they actually have been delegated and responsible for. Provides better sharing capabilities between employees. They can provide time-based access to applications, maybe when they go on vacation or they need assistance during a major migration or digitalization. Helps rotate the passwords automatically. dependency discovery, especially for things like service accounts, where you might have different accounts which are dependent on other applications, whether it be network resources and databases and development servers, that make sure you have visibility into what is dependent on each other. Active Directory integrations, automated backups, more detailed and advanced reporting, and again, a lot of automation into that so you don't have to waste your time doing it. Approval workflows and break the glass. This is where you reward your employees with a solution that takes away the password pain and moves it into the background. And privileged account management is moving even further. It's no longer just about managing the account, it's about enabling access. And to do so, this is where we think about, where is the perimeter today? What do you still have control of? What can you still manage? Is all your employees using corporate devices? Are they using a mixture between BYOD? Are they all working in an office, or are they working hybrid from home, remotely, in an office? You have to think about all those complexities. What do you still have control of today? You still have control of the identity, and you still have control of the access. Identity is the new perimeter, and access is the security of that perimeter. And that's what you have consistency and control of. That's what you still have control of. And that's why integration between privileged access security and identity access management is critical and essential. Also, integrations with things like enterprise solutions like SIEMs and systems management and patch management systems and vulnerability scanners. So therefore, they can be also successful at having the credentials and access to get you the visibility into your environment. Multi-factor authentication to do continuous verification. Securing DevOps with one-time passwords and tokens. Employees who's working remotely and third-party suppliers and making it possible for them to access securely with remote access integrations. Automation. Session launching recording for maybe third-party access or sensitive systems so you have better visibility into what actions is being performed. And helping enforce the principle of least privilege, which is really essential into actually enabling and enforcing a zero trust that's based on risks, and risks which are not static, but risks which are adaptive. Security needs to be like a living organism within your business, and this will help you achieve that. And it's not stopping there. That's what we've got to today. It's even going beyond that, where it's no longer about just managing the access. It's about moving into the future of privileged access management, which is about enabling interoperability. Not just about managing the account, but enabling the secure usage of the accounts. And that's what privileged access is all about. And to get there, privileged access is going even further, helping you provide much more advanced automation. As I mentioned, reducing that wasted time. About enabling interoperability, about making solutions work together in the background. Providing much more scalability, much more visibility. Moving passwords into the background and taking that pain away, reducing cyber fatigue from your employees. And we must treat all identities as privileged. Anyone who has access and that access is used. It's not to say they're all equal, but it's to say that we must apply the right security controls based on risk, and that risk should be adaptive to making sure that we're actually securing, that we're actually getting visibility, and making it much more difficult for attackers to be successful. My job is to force attackers to take more risks, to create more noise, and ultimately that will create more visibility and more alerts for you to be able to detect the attackers much earlier and reduce the potential of a catastrophe from happening. About enabling orchestration. Privileged access is almost like the conductor of an orchestra, making sure everything works in symphony and everything has the access and visibility they need to be successful. And we want to make security one that employees want to use. Reward your employees with a privileged access management solution that will actually also provide continuous verification and continuous authorization, and also help you get in control of your multi-cloud hybrid environment, providing much more advanced zero trust that's based on that adaptive risk. And when I like to think about privileged access and where it really kind of is going for the future, I kind of think of it as about enabling interoperability and that continuous authorization, almost like a continuous digital polygraph test. That's what I like to think about privileged access security is about whenever you've got authentication authorization requests into your environment, into the cloud. As I mentioned, identity being that perimeter and access being the security for the perimeter. And when an authorization request comes in, you can ask the right questions. You can put the right security controls in place to make sure that is an authenticated request, that it is an employee or a third party that needs to have access and should have access to that system. And checking the different security controls about, are they coming from the right location? Is it the right time of day? Is it the right device that they're coming from? Have they satisfied additional security controls? So making sure that only authenticated, authorized, approved requests can gain access. And raising those questions when any risk changes or any suspicious activity occurs to make sure that more security controls need to be satisfied before access is granted. A digital polygraph or test for access. That's what privileged access security is all about. And yes, zero trust is critical and important. But zero trust is a baseline. It's a starting point. It's about where you draw that line in the sand about where you need to satisfy security controls and how you reduce the risk. Zero trust is the starting of a journey. And that journey is to building a digital trust that is based on risk, that includes continuous verification. Zero trust is a framework. It's a path. It's a model. It's a mindset. It's not a product or solution. It's a journey to help reducing the risk and forcing the attackers to take more risk, to create more noise, to give you better visibility, to help keeping them out. And to help you get there, to help you go beyond password managers, to help you get on this journey to success, to privileged access management and maturity of privileged access management. We've created a framework for you, a privileged access management checklist. It's a self-assessment tool that will help you get to basically understanding about where you are today and help you look for that vision and help you take that journey to being successful. Download the checklist, take a look and ask yourselves the right questions about where you are, what the risks are. Maybe you need to go and find and discover additional information to help you get that visibility and set your path to success. Reward your employees with a privileged access management solution that reduces cyber fatigue for passwords and moves those passwords into the background. So my name is Joseph Carson, Chief Security Scientist and Advisory CISO at Thycotic. It's been a pleasure. I hope this has been educational. I hope that this will start you on your path to going beyond password managers, moving passwords into the background, and a successful journey to actually reducing risk and getting into automation of privileged access security. Thank you. Take care and stay safe.
All right, great presentation, Joseph. I really learned a lot from that. I can tell the audience did as well. A lot of great questions coming in. I've just brought up the poll question for everyone out there on the screen that says, what additional information would you like about the Thycotic solution? Joseph, do you have a few minutes for questions?
Absolutely, I do, and really excited to answer the questions from the audience.
Excellent. Let's see, where to start? That's the big question here. First one is, I guess there's a couple questions here about the architecture of Thycotic. They're asking, does this run on premises? Is this a cloud solution? How does that work?
Absolutely, and that's a great question. Thycotic offers multiple deployment options for customers to really fulfill their needs. And we have a fully featured PAM cloud deployment option, and we also have an option to install on-premise as well. So whatever the customer's needs and choices of their preference, we can fulfill it either in the cloud or on-premise.
Excellent. And then there's another question here about, does this really only work well for large enterprises, or could this help, kind of medium and maybe even smaller companies as well?
Absolutely. I mean, Thycotic was built on bringing privileged access management to companies of all sizes. We were the vendor that really made, we took privileged access, which was historically very limited to large organizations, and we made it available to companies of all sizes. So if you're a small, business with, a handful of people, right up to medium-sized businesses with a couple hundred, a few thousand, right up to super large enterprises. Thycotic has made privileged access available for companies of all sizes.
Excellent. And then another question here, they're asking, you referenced real-time network monitoring in here. And is that something you recall that you want to clarify? They're asking exactly what you meant by that.
Absolutely. What I'm referring to is real-time monitoring of credential usage. So anytime access has been used when you're using a privileged account or a local administrator account, or you're accessing, let's say, a domain account, it's really about network monitoring the usage of privileges on the network and being able to actually have full auditability of who requested, how long was the session, what actions were performed with that credential. So it's not about monitoring the network, it's about monitoring the usage of credentials within the network.
Got it. Okay. And then what about the term that keeps popping up when it comes to security, zero trust? How does this fit in with that?
Absolutely. I mean, privileged access is really an important ingredient or attribute into a zero trust approach. We have to remember that zero trust it's not a product, and it's not a checkbox, and it's not there's a lot of assumptions about everyone has different interpretations. Zero trust is really it's a choice or a mindset on how you wish to operate as a company. That's what's really it's about. An approach to deciding to take an approach that what you're really going to do is have a zero trust baseline, which means that everything is not assumed trusted or doesn't get, once trust is established, that trust is not persistent. It means that you continuously verify, you continuously audit, you continuously check the risk and the trust that's been established and make sure that you have the right security controls that's been satisfied. So it's really, when you think about it, it's the core element is the principle of least privilege, and that means that privileged access management is a core component of that. And when I refer to it, I typically refer to it as a digital polygraph test. So making sure that every access, authentication, and authorization is satisfying the security controls and making sure organizations reduce as much risk as possible.
Excellent. Thanks for explaining that. It looks like we're running out of time here in our live Q&A, but what do you recommend folks do if they want to get started with Thycotic?
Absolutely. We have so many resources. Definitely go to the handouts, take a look at some of the resources that we have. We've got self-assessment tools. Definitely recommend reading my books. I have authored 5 books to date. And if you really want to get started, I definitely recommend starting with the Privileged Account Management for Dummies book. It's a great place to really get up to speed in all the possibilities and all of the options that you have to really get a successful privileged access management strategy.
Excellent. Yeah, I need to check those out myself. Joseph, it's been a pleasure having you on the event today. There's some more technical questions there perhaps for you in the electronic queue. Thank you so much for being on.
No problem. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And thank you to everyone who responded to the poll. As Joseph said, check out the handouts tab as well. It's there that you'll find your privileged access management checklist that you can download and check out after the Megacast. I'll leave the poll up for anyone who hasn't yet responded while I announce our next Amazon $500 gift card. This is going to Ramu Tumala from Tennessee. Congratulations, Ramu Tumala from Tennessee. So 3 more grand prizes, 3 more Apple iPad M1 Pros, and 3 more gift cards to give out. So make sure you stay tuned for those. But until then, it's time now for our next presentation on today's Megacast. I'm excited now to introduce you to Shilpi Shrivastava, Director of Product Marketing at Pure Storage. Shilpi, it's great to have you back on. Take it away.
Thank you, David. Hey, everyone, this is Shilpi. Thank you so much for joining the Pure Storage session on this Megacast today. I'm super excited to talk to you for the next 25 minutes or so and talk to you really about data strategies that can help you supercharge your cloud. I know that sounds kind of exciting. Well, let's just get into the material right there. before we do that, just looking at what's going on in the industry, industry-wide today. As a lot of you might be experiencing this, and a lot of you probably in the midst of this today, we know that businesses today need to move faster than ever. And over the last few years, we've witnessed enterprises shifting towards hybrid cloud. And that's no surprise, right? Almost everyone has workloads running in multiple private and public cloud environments. Additionally, containers and cloud-native application architectures have really picked up, so much so that most new applications are now being deployed in containers. With these enterprise shifts, integration between on-premises and public cloud environments has become an important consideration, as a lot of you are probably building your business goals and working on your enterprise architectures. And with that, technology that makes application and data mobility simple is playing a more important role than ever. So having a hybrid multi-cloud deployment sounds great. You can leverage the best of both on-premises and public cloud worlds. And this is a great avenue to leverage best of breed technologies for your specific use cases and business-specific needs. However, when we look at many enterprise environments, we find that hybrid or multi-cloud architectures very often increase complexity and creep in silos. Now, that wasn't the intent when building these deployments, right? So what's happening here? You have different application stacks across environments. Management and licensing vary, which means you have to now worry about retraining resources and managing multiple licenses. And major problems arise when your very valuable data is now siloed across diverse infrastructure backends. At Pure, we've really been looking into this, and we're striving towards bridging this gap by using what is our core strength, which is data. Data and storage is what Pure does best, and that's where we've accelerated our efforts over the last few years, taking steps towards delivering a unified multi-cloud data plane so that customers can run any application, use infrastructure as code tools or any orchestration tool, and run on any cloud or backend infrastructure. So what are the key attributes of this unified multi-cloud data plane? Well, firstly, it's got to deliver storage as a service and on demand for both your traditional and cloud-native applications. Secondly, it's got to have unified management across hybrid cloud, as well as unified licensing. This data layer has got to make mobility of applications across diverse backends simple, so you can unlock a host of new use cases that I'll touch upon later in this session. And finally, we wanted to help customers accelerate their application modernization initiatives and build that cloud-native enterprise. Well, what's the goal with all of this? The ultimate goal is to make it super easy for businesses to move applications and data across your data center, a hosted or co-located cloud, and public cloud environments. So if you have a scenario where you want to develop an application in a public cloud and then deploy it on premises, you're able to move fast and reduce time to market. Or if you want to leverage public cloud as a secondary or tertiary data center for backups or for disaster recovery, you're able to do that in both an efficient and an effortless manner. So in the next few minutes, we're going to look at 4 key phases or pillars of building a cohesive data strategy for your hybrid multi-cloud environment. This involves building better agility or cloud-like agility on premises in your data center. It involves simplifying cloud mobility, getting more from your public cloud storage, and making Kubernetes happen everywhere. In this session, we are basically gonna focus on these 4 things and how we can help you make this happen. Pure's strategy is to deliver to our customers that multi-cloud data services platform, including block, file, and object storage that can be fully automated as part of your overall digital infrastructure. And we are going to look at key use cases briefly, given the time that we have, and how Pure's portfolio of products, including FlashArray, FlashBlade, Portworx, and Cloud Block Store come in together to make these use cases real for our customers. So let's start with one of the phases, the first phase that I described earlier, cloud agility on premises. At Pure, we strongly believe that cloud is a style of computing, and I'm sure a lot of you are going to agree with that. Most of you would agree with that. And with that in mind, we've made improvements to the Pure experience, so you can finally have that private cloud in place. Also, this future-proofs your data center strategy by making sure extension into hybrid cloud is seamless if and when you're ready to do that, or if you're doing it today even. We've introduced recently a service-defined digital marketplace through Pure One, which is Pure's SaaS-based cloud management platform. This was meant to be similar in experience to a cloud marketplace. So if you log into the Pure One digital marketplace, it looks quite a lot like an AWS or a Azure marketplace, but it just takes it to the next level. It's a singular interface for on-prem and cloud infrastructure services. So you basically log into this one to this one user interface, and you're able to look at all your infrastructure services on premises, in the cloud, and this is a one-stop shop for you to go and purchase that. It's integrated with Pure as a Service, which is our unified hybrid cloud subscription, and it leverages AI-driven capabilities using Meta. I have a really good screenshot of that on the next slide, which I'll cover in a bit. We've also made sure we are continuing to enhance the comprehensive integrations that we have with VMware, as well as Kubernetes orchestration platforms across the board to ensure simple automated storage on demand for both your VM-based and your container-based application environments. And thirdly, we also wanted to make sure customers are able to use the automation tools and orchestration tools of their choice. And this was super important for us to make the right tools available to customers, irrespective of the location. So we have integrations with infrastructure as code tools like Ansible, Puppet, and a bunch of others. You see a few on the screen. And it is Pure's API-first approach to automation, which makes this a reality. I spoke about the AI-driven service-defined digital marketplace through Pure One. This is what the digital marketplace looks like. You go in and you choose the service you want, be it Kubernetes backup, Kubernetes DR, block storage as a service. You click on it and you get it. This is self-service, and that what makes it really cool. The Pure One digital marketplace is also now integrated with AWS and Azure marketplaces to give you that singular hybrid cloud view. And with that, we're really bringing the cloud experience on premises. The next part in building this cohesive data strategy for your hybrid multi-cloud environment is to make sure your public cloud infrastructure environment or your public cloud data services are keeping up to the demands of your enterprise applications. With that in mind, we've introduced in both our Portworx and Cloud Block Store offerings, we made sure we are bringing in enterprise features to the public cloud. Now, Cloud Block Store is designed to help you get more from your public cloud storage investment. We are bringing enterprise capabilities to AWS and Azure. Cloud Block Store is designed for high reliability and predictable performance. We're bringing Purity, which is, Purity is flash arrays software, the software that runs on pure flash arrays. If you're familiar with Pure, you know that Pure has industry-leading data efficiency ratios. We are bringing Purity's industry-leading data efficiencies to the public cloud. So now you have thin provisioning, deduplication, and compression in your public cloud environment. Also, Cloud Block Store leverages Purity's space-saving instant snapshots, enabling flexible DevOps use cases and helping customers ultimately get better TCO. It's also bringing HA within and across availability zone, within an availability zone in the public cloud, as well as across two availability zones. And finally, it's also bringing software-based encryption, meaning that you can now have a consistent encryption strategy for all your data on premises and in the cloud. So as I mentioned, Cloud Block Store is architected for performance and reliability by bundling the highest performing and the highest durability public cloud resources. We've made careful, pointed design decisions when Cloud Block Store was developed. So we are using AWS resources like IO1 as well as S3 to make sure you're not having to choose between performance, availability, and durability when you're buying storage in the cloud anymore. Here's also an example of Cloud Block Store for Azure, which is GA at this point. Moving quickly on to enabling Kubernetes and cloud-native applications for customers everywhere. Portworx by Pure Storage offers a complete Kubernetes data services platform so that customers can build and protect cloud-native applications on premises or in any of the major public cloud environments. It is built for business critical or tier 1 applications. So, that was something that really fitted well with the overall Pure strategy that we have with FlashArray, FlashBlade, Cloud Block Store. So it helps developers build and update applications faster without compromising on security and enterprise policies. And Portworx also gives your SaaS architects a scalable as well as a reliable Kubernetes storage platform. Here's a quick snapshot of what the Portworx portfolio of products looks like. We've got a PX Store, which was built from the ground up for containers. It provides cloud-native storage for applications running in the cloud, on premises, and in hybrid or multi-cloud environments. It provides container-optimized volumes with elastic scaling to prevent application downtime and HA across nodes, or racks, or AZs, so you can fail over in seconds. We also have PX Backup, PX DR, and PX Migrate, which allows you to very easily move entire applications across clusters and clouds. There's PX Secure, which provides container granular encryption and access control, so you can move securely even at the speed of Kubernetes. And finally, there's PX Autopilot, which is for capacity management. It allows you to stop over-provisioning storage capacity in the cloud so you can cut your cloud storage bill in half. When we started this session, we spoke about enabling these key hybrid use cases. Data protection is top of mind today. By leveraging public cloud for disaster recovery and backups, businesses are able to save themselves the resources and the cost of maintaining that secondary data center. One of our customers, Cornerstone, they had a hybrid disaster recovery strategy. They were running on FlashArray on premises, and they wanted to leverage AWS Cloud for disaster recovery. By using Pure's replication capabilities, they were able to start replicating to AWS within a matter of seconds, which was absolutely amazing. And with Cloud Block Store, they were really able to accelerate their hybrid DR use case. Portworx provides complete data protection services for your applications running on Kubernetes, as well as all of the data that goes with it, right? Royal Bank of Canada is one of the largest banks in Canada, and they were faced with the challenge of meeting very strict availability requirements with just Kubernetes. By leveraging Portworx DR, they were able to achieve zero RPO and an RTO of less than 2 minutes. So they're able to recover their application in another data center in under 2 minutes with no data lost. And that was a huge win for both RBC and for Pure Storage. When we look at on-prem and public cloud storage, data efficiency models are very different. So when our customers want to deploy hybrid applications, one of the big concerns is, will I get the data efficiencies that my on-prem enterprise storage offers? When you're running dev test in the cloud, your data really grows fast as you create these build environments. One of our customers, Newskin, was able to experience an 80:1 data reduction, an 80:1 reduction in their AWS cloud data consumption by leveraging Cloud Block Store for AWS by means of the space-saving snapshot capabilities that Pure offers. And this really helped them scale dev test in the cloud. As you've heard me say a couple of times, at Pure, we're really geared towards enabling tier 1 and mission critical applications for enterprises. And with critical applications arises the need for high availability. And when they're in the cloud, there's this need for high availability across availability zones. With Cloud Block Store, we've introduced Pure's active cluster capabilities to allow for active-active synchronous replication across your AWS or Azure availability zones. And for your Kubernetes applications, Portworx also offers active-active synchronous replications between any two backends, be that on premises or in public cloud. So far, we've been talking about the technical benefits and how we make use cases happen for customers. However, financial flexibility is an extremely important consideration when you're exploring hybrid cloud or designing your cloud strategy. There are a lot of scenarios where you might want to start small in the cloud in AWS or Azure and grow that environment over time. Or there are a bunch of companies that have had to go the other way around where they're having to bring cloud workloads back on premises or into a data center. Pure as a service really makes it super easy to be flexible with your cloud strategy by offering a unified hybrid cloud subscription under a single license. So under a Pure as a service subscription, customers are able to consume resources on premises and their Pure resources in the public cloud without having to worry about managing multiple different licenses across the board. And with that, we come to the end of our session today. Before I open up for questions, I just quickly wanted to pin on your screen this slide. If you're going to attend VMworld next month, or if you're going to be at KubeCon, please make sure to visit or go into the Pure Storage booth. And we're very excited to share with you more information, demos, and details. With that, opening up for questions. Over to you, David.
Great presentation. Thanks so much, Shilpi. We do have some questions for you. And while we take those questions from the audience, I've just brought up a poll for everyone out there I want to call your attention to that says, what additional information would you like about Pure Storage? So Shilpi, let's see. You ready for some questions?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, David. I'm looking forward to the questions.
All right. First question they're asking, am I able to back up my flash array data to public cloud?
Absolutely, yeah. So Flash Array comes with this built-in Cloud Snap feature. And currently, like if you're using Flash Array or if you purchase a Flash Array, you're able to then just activate that feature at no cost to back up to either Amazon S3, which is their object storage in AWS, or even to Azure Blob, which is their object storage backend as well.
Nice, nice, okay. And then someone else here, they want to know if Pure Storage supports VMware Tanzu today.
We do, yeah. So VMware Tanzu has, given that VMware is now offering this Kubernetes platform, it's obviously become a point of discussion with a bunch of our customers. A lot of our customers actually use VMware. So Portworx delivers, as you would have seen through the presentation, Portworx, it offers these container granular services, and these include the dynamic volume provisioning, replication, and high availability, encryption, backup and recovery, as well as disaster recovery for Kubernetes-based applications. And we're integrated with VMware Tanzu. So Portworx complements the VMware Tanzu platform, and it kind of gives you that modern and future-proof Kubernetes stack. By using Portworx and VMware Tanzu together, customers are able to get a lot of flexibility to scale out their Tanzu environment. So yeah, that is the Portworx integration, but also like with Flash Array, we do have a reference architecture with Tanzu. So yeah, if you're using Flash Array today, you can use Portworx for the Kubernetes native experience, or just use Flash Array with Tanzu as well.
Okay, I like that. A lot of flexibility there when it comes to Tanzu. Another question, is there any sort of trial available for this software, or proof of concept we could do?
Yeah, so so depending on which software you're referring to, so Portworx has free trials available for most of these public cloud environments. So you can just actually go onto our website and click on Try Portworx, and it will give you a free trial for a period of time. Also, Cloud Block Store, depending on whether you are deploying this on AWS or Azure clouds, we do have free trials for Cloud Block Store available through the AWS or Azure marketplaces. Other than that, David, if you're looking at just trying what the Pure Flash Array software really looks like, Pure offers test drives. These are like our virtual POCs where you can sign up to try Flash Array virtually without actually having to wait for a box to be shipped to you or anything like that. So there's no boxes. You can just try it for free through a virtual POC, which we call the test drive. And that's available on purestorage.com if you're interested.
Okay, excellent. Let's see, another question here. What about using OpenShift from Red Hat with Portworx?
So OpenShift, of course, is one of the most, as we see amongst our own customers today, it is one of the very widely used Kubernetes platforms out there for platform as a service. And because Portworx does the storage provisioning and handles the data side of things, we do integrate with OpenShift and complement the platform as a service capability offered by OpenShift. So yes, we are partners with Red Hat, and we partner with them across the board, including OpenShift, also with OpenStack and Ansible offerings that they have.
Okay, okay, excellent. Let's see, another question here. Does Portworx support VDI or virtualized desktops? Is that a good use case?
So Portworx would be geared towards if in any workload basically that you're running in containers and leveraging Kubernetes for it. VDI, we generally see the use. So as you're starting to like modernize these applications, Portworx can definitely be a very good platform, like especially looking at a PX store. It can really help with storage provisioning for any workload that would run in a container. Pure also has very deep integrations for VDI environments that actually run on virtual machines, which is kind of the more common use case that we see.
Got it. Okay. And then looks like we're starting to run out of time here on our live Q&A, but I mean, you mentioned there is a free trial for Portworx if folks want to get started with that. Is that probably the best way? Go to purestorage.com and check that out?
Yeah, so purestorage.com/Portworx. Absolutely go in there. I really encourage you to try Portworx. It's super easy to use, and getting hands-on is really the best way. So whoever asked that question, thanks for that. Yeah, check it out. And also, we are going to be at KubeCon. If you have more questions, it's a virtual event next month. So yeah, please stop by and check out the demos, ask us whatever questions you have. We're also going to be there at VMworld. And yeah, with that, this has been super exciting. And I'm going to go in and see whatever other questions are there on that question tracker and try to answer as many as I can, David.
Excellent. All right. Well, great presentation, Shilpi. Thanks so much for being on the Megacast.
Thanks a lot for having me. Thanks all for your time.
Absolutely. And thank you to Pure Storage for supporting the event. Check out the Pure Storage link. It's right there in the handouts tab as well. And there's information as well for the upcoming Pure launch event happening on September 28th. And as Shilpi mentioned, KubeCon as well. So a lot of great info. All right, if you haven't answered the poll question on the screen there, I'll just leave that up for you to respond while I announce our next prize winners. We have another Amazon $500 gift card going to Mike Sear from Connecticut. Congratulations. And our next grand prize for an Apple iPad M1 Pro, this is going to Ryan Kendall, connecting all the way from Alaska. Congratulations, Ryan. We'll be reaching out to send out your new iPad. All right, 2 more grand prizes, another 2 more gift cards as well. Of course, our best question gift cards as well. And thank you all for the great questions that just keep flowing in. And with that, it's now time to move on to our next presenter on today's Megacast. I'm excited to introduce Aubrey Turner, Executive Advisor at Ping Identity. Aubrey, take it away.
Hello there. My name is Aubrey Turner. I am an executive advisor at Ping Identity. Some career highlights include started my career at Deloitte and then went to an organization that eventually became Optiv and now at Ping Identity. So today, as you can see, the topic of this presentation is devising cloud strategies and solutions. And then the subtitle is Cloud Identity and Access Management. And what I'm really going to talk about, what I'm really hoping you take away from this presentation is identity's role and identity's pivotal role in your journey to cloud. And there's really a couple overlapping axes that are relevant. So first, we're moving services and apps and systems to the cloud. But we're also, and this has been occurring for some time, moving identity to cloud. And so we're going to talk about both of those things and their interrelationships and what some of those strategies look like, what that journey to cloud and cloud identity looks like. And again, that's what I'm hoping that you'll come away with. But first, we put customers first. And this is one of the things being at Ping that I'm most proud of is what you're looking at is our Net Promoter Score that's on the left-hand side of your screen. And that's really our customers honoring us and with their level of satisfaction. So we are, again, honored to have earned a world-class NPS score of 65. Some of our company includes Apple, Netflix. It's the neighborhood that we are in. To my knowledge, to my knowledge, recent knowledge, I don't know if we have any competitors that are quite matching our NPS score. So again, this is driven by our unwavering commitment to our customer success, your success from an identity perspective. And then on the right there is the 2021 Gartner Access Management Quadrant, Magic Quadrant, excuse me, really just kind of highlighting our recognition as a leader in access management. So just a couple bona fides that I wanted to share with you. And the other thing that I'll say before I get into the sort of heart of the matter is we're proven in the enterprise. We've got some of the largest customers as some of the largest companies as customers, 60% of the Fortune 100 and well over 2 billion identities secured. So that's pretty exciting and pretty awesome stuff. And then what we're going to be talking about as it relates to this journey to cloud and journey to cloud identity, is this cloud platform that we have and the experience orchestration that we are building to, again, help you deploy these solutions faster than ever before, help you to integrate with a platform that is scalable and powerful and enterprise proven. Again, you saw some of the data on the previous slide, but really what this looks like from a journey perspective, right, is the ability to, again, verify that user, verify that identity proofing, registering them, being able to authenticate them, strong adaptive authentication plus single sign-on, and then being able to sort of authorize that user what they can do once they have access via web and API, and doing that authorization dynamically based on purpose and context, and managing that, what we call consent flow authorization, being able to dynamically do that. And last but not least, safeguarding the user. So monitoring them, elements of risk, certainly API intelligence and security. So this is what the Ping Cloud Identity Intelligent Identity Platform looks like, and sort of at a high level, what we're looking to, how we're looking to build a orchestration solution that is built across these experiences in a platform that can deliver extraordinary experiences to users while at the same time being secure. So cloud identity, why does it matter? And some of this is likely going to be very, very obvious, but nonetheless, let me point out a few things. Certainly operational efficiency. We've all heard, and since we've started talking about cloud over the last decade plus, the efficiency that the cloud can offer. That plus most of the digital transformation has been naturally occurring in cloud as we look to build these new capabilities. The fastest way that our teams have found to do that is naturally in cloud, all right? And so whether, APIs, consumption of SaaS apps, IoT, as well as other, and now in the last 18 months, remote work, all of that part of digital transformation strategies, the cloud has been attractive from an efficiency perspective. So that plus end user experience, again, all of these things are factors in terms of why the cloud matters. And then second but not least is market dynamics. So the trends toward multi-cloud, right? And by the way, in my opinion, multi-cloud is not necessarily anything new. Probably the aspect of it that's relevant is resiliency. Certainly we saw some organizations had some unexpected resiliency issues, so they've looked to spread their workload across multiple environments. But if you've been multiple clouds, but if you've been consuming SaaS apps, chances are those SaaS apps are running in various clouds, and hence you've been in multi-cloud for some period of time. And then this is one of the things I think our customers really, really value is identity independence, right? And I think, if I could say so, this is a Ping tenet. We try to limit vendor lock-in. We don't really care what cloud you live in, but we push for standards. so that whichever cloud you are choosing to live in, or whichever clouds you're choosing to live in, we can adapt and we can continue to help support your identity independence and kind of that neutrality, so that we can manage and orchestrate these experiences across whichever cloud and clouds you choose to be in. But these are the reasons why and the factors why cloud identity matters and why it's so relevant today. So we're all on life's journey, and journey to cloud is no different. It mirrors it in some ways, and it's just another journey that we are all on. And so another Aubrey with a far higher social media profile than mine once said, sometimes it's the journey that teaches you a lot about your destination. And I really like that quote because it illustrates, again, what you're seeing here in terms of the steps in the journey to cloud and to cloud identity. These, and I will get into them shortly, they'll tell you a lot about your destination as you take those steps. And again, you'll see things related to speed, agility, and efficiency. These are some of the underlying factors in that journey to cloud, journey to identity in the cloud. So if anybody knows the other Aubrey that said that quote, probably wouldn't be too hard to find out. If you know how to use Google, shoot me a line on LinkedIn or something. See if you're all paying attention. Anyway, I'll continue. So in that journey to cloud, unifying administration. So these use cases, and I touched on that experience orchestration slide, the Ping platform. We're building a platform. We have a platform really that's covering use cases for customer, so B2C, B2B, and partner. We're seeing more overlapping use cases. So our platform continues to evolve with those overlapping use cases in mind. And then certainly, you're looking to administer various environments, development, testing, prod, as well as standard SaaS applications, and then legacy and non-standard, some of our favorites that we have to figure out how we're going to manage as we move the apps and identities to cloud. The value of this step in that journey is to accelerate common tasks so that we make those common tasks that are repeatable. We unify that administration, and then centralize access to all of your environments. If they're decentralized and disparate, makes it far less efficient and agile to manage and administer those environments. And then single sign-on to all these management consoles and portals, et cetera. That's certainly part of it. But this is your first stop to identity as the control plane. And you're going to hear me refer to that before my time here is done. Identity as the control plane. And this is part of that journey to cloud, journey to identity in cloud. Adopting identity as the control plane is a key element of that, as well as you probably got some zero trust running concurrently or driving some of this as part of the security framework that you're, again, balancing risk and efficiency and user experience as part of this migration or move to cloud and consumption of more cloud. And yes, hybrid is still a reality. So these legacy and non-standard apps, as you make your decision, go through your decision criteria in terms of whether you're going to move them or whatever you're going to do with them, we're still seeing a tremendous amount of hybrid. So being able to bridge cloud to on-prem or legacy and non-standard apps, that last mile integration is still a huge part of this, is still a key part of the journey to cloud. So again, this idea of identity as the control plane, establishing a cloud authentication authority. So we're going to benefit from this centralized orchestration of user authentication flows and where the Ping Intelligent Identity platform sits. Again, regardless of the user type, customers, employees, partners, again, we're supporting various user types. And then this authentication authority, what the value here is that we can define these integration patterns and we can have one source of identity data. This one source will allow us to be agile in terms of self-service onboarding for any application or systems or resource across your enterprise. Again, whether those applications, SaaS apps, or you're migrating them to the cloud, or they're going to reside in private cloud. Again, wherever they are, establishing a cloud authentication authority will have tremendous business value in terms of efficiency, agility, and speed. And so consolidating these disparate identity systems, processes, and personnel can only lead to, again, that improved operational efficiency and again, whatever that operating model is that you are aligning with. So once you've done that, right, we want to sprinkle some multi-factor authentication and adaptive multi-factor authentication and as part of that, right? So we've got all these use cases, all of these authentication flows, web, mobile, VPN, SSH, these different authentication points that, again, form these authentication use cases. We want to, when I say, globalize your cloud authentication authority, what we're talking about is adding additional features to it that strengthen it. And again, not only strengthen the security, but also enhance the end user experience, for example, with passwordless. So that's another way that we can effectively marry security and the end user experience, right? And have a pretty good balance between security and the end user experience. So again, we're talking about speed. We can enable users to log in faster across numerous authentication methods, right? And kind of meet the user on their terms, again, in this centralized global authentication model. Launch apps in any cloud consistently and securely. So that's huge. And I talked about those adapters or the ability to adapt to any cloud. It's almost like, I just went to Europe, and you travel to Europe, they've got different outlets and volts and amps and things like that. But you can bring an adapter, and in some cases, whether the adapter or converter, you can still power up and be able to do that easily and securely. And this is the kind of same idea here in terms of being adaptable to different clouds and again, bridging different clouds and being able to securely do that. Improved efficiency. So this is also part of this is, again, reducing help desk calls and call center costs through end user self-service. So again, multi-factor authentication, a huge piece of this. Let's then add risk, right? So we've got single sign-on, MFA. Let's add risk to that, and that's the intelligence piece of this. By the way, frictionless security is also something that I've talked about, and this is how we frictionless user experiences. This is how we get there. So anonymous network, whether the device is, jailbroken, the OS, the version, IP, reputation, and possible travel, sort of all of those device posture things, we can aggregate that risk and we can create a score that then makes a decision as to whether that user, gets access. I talked about frictionless end user experiences. So we increase speed. We have these risk thresholds that are and policies that are dynamic, so that can help us build these frictionless experiences through machine learning and intelligence and artificial intelligence. We can have security for, again, any apps deployed in any cloud. Kind of that analogy of, again, traveling to another country and still being able to sort of power up your devices with sort of an adapter and or converter. And then improved efficiency, so reducing manual effort. So your administrators can focus on other higher level tasks, more strategic tasks. So we can use machine learning to detect abnormal behavior and then take action on that. And again, this is not just paying, right? We can also consume and aggregate risk from other sources that you may have in your environment to again build a complete risk picture and detect abnormal behavior, and then make a decision from there. As we can kind of continue, then we're talking about verification, affirmation, and then this could be document validation, such as a driver's license. Like I mentioned, I went to Europe recently. International passports, or some other valid type of document for identification, or it could be data driven. It could be there could be other elements, other factors that we use just based on the level of assurance that we need in order to verify the identity. And one of the things that we're certainly seeing is, as part of again these cloud journeys, is verification being more tightly integrated with registration and authentication. So this is again part of that journey to cloud, and having trust being a big sort of underlying factor, right? That's what this is all about. So the capabilities to again, for know your customer, or if you're in financial services, anti-money laundering, streamlining all of those things from account creation and onboarding, as well as authentication. I talked about frictionless things like passwordless. So all of those things are all sort of chained together, and then being able to standardize the onboarding for all new apps and services. I talked about standards, and so we want to be standards driven, standards friendly, and improving the efficiency. So self-service account creation. So as we build out this cloud authentication authority, we single sign-on, and there's a term that I've used. It's SSO everything and MFA everywhere. So those are those concepts that we can use, and certainly we see them here. And we don't want to just do single sign-on and MFA. That's kind of like peaking in high school. We want to add risk. We want to add verification. We want to build out these capabilities as part of this global authentication authority. So one step here that we can also take as part of this journey is consolidating legacy IAM in the cloud. And so we have legacy systems that we can again accelerate the time to market for new apps with a single platform for authentication and actually authorization as well. And the idea here is to replace these custom and proprietary systems with standards-based. I touched on standards, and this is all part of this identity as the control plane for cloud. Limit, reduce on-premise infrastructure. Again, we can certainly bridge hybrid. That's the name of the game. And so let me complete that thought around improving efficiency, reducing on-premises costs, admin costs, operational costs, the infrastructure that you have on-prem. So consolidating legacy identity in the cloud onto a single platform, that's part of this journey as well. And your steps may mirror these, or you may run some of these things concurrently, right? This isn't necessarily sort of serialized. You certainly can run pieces of this in parallel, but that's roughly the journey to cloud, journey to identity in cloud, adopting identity as the control plane. So let's talk about where you are in the journey, right? This is a current state of identity checklist. I know this is very, very busy. There's quite a lot on here to consume. But let's talk about where you are in the journey, what you have done. We all know the gratification that comes with checking off items on a to-do list, and Ping can certainly help with that. So rather than having, or me, reading all of these to you, I encourage further conversation around your use cases, and let's imagine the future. Let's talk about your journey to cloud, your journey to identity in the cloud. And let's see where you are. So with that, I want to thank you all for listening. And sometimes in these virtual sessions, it's challenging to get direct and immediate feedback. But again, if you certainly have any questions and want to continue the conversation, like I said, I certainly encourage that. Thanks again, and be well. Take care.
All right, great presentation, Aubrey. Really appreciate that. I learned a lot about this, so thank you. I know the audience did as well. We've got some great questions coming in. I'm afraid we don't have time for live Q&A. We're running out of time here on the Megacast, so we're going to forego live Q&A, but we encourage your questions electronically, and they will be routed over to Aubrey to respond to as fast as he can. I just brought up a poll question for everyone out there that says, what next steps would you like to take with Ping Identity? And so, you know, if you'd like to chat more with them about implementing Ping solutions in the cloud, perhaps you just like to check out the Ping Identity Buyer's Guide solution, or maybe watch a brief demo of Ping's cloud and on-prem solutions, or nothing at this time. So I encourage you to respond there to the poll. And again, I'll leave it up here while I announce our next prize winners. We do have an Amazon $500 gift card going out to Terry Newton from Oklahoma. Congratulations, Terry Newton from Oklahoma. And then we've got another grand prize, an Apple M1 iPad Pro. This is going to Jermaine Vincent from Colorado. Congratulations, Jermaine Vincent from Colorado. So some more great prizes today on the Megacast. So we hope that you'll stay tuned for that. And of course, another awesome presentation coming right up here with HPE. So let me give you another moment just to respond to the poll question, and then we'll move on to our next presenter. All right, thank you to everyone there who responded to the poll. It's now time for our next presentation on today's Cloud Strategies and Solutions Megacast. I'm excited now to introduce Jenna Colleran, Storage Product Marketing Manager at Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. Jenna, it's great to have you on. Take it away.
Hey everyone, I'm Jenna Colleran from Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. Today, I'm excited to talk to you about how we're delivering cloud operations with HPE Alletra and Data Services Cloud Console. Over the next few minutes, we'll step through the new cloud experience these products are able to bring to your data infrastructure, as well as the value and outcomes it delivers for you. Every organization today is looking to accelerate what's next. Data, cloud, and AI are the disruptive forces underpinning transformation, with data ushering in new experiences and outcomes, cloud delivering enterprise agility, and AI powering unprecedented operational insights and automation. But it's only at the intersection of these three forces that could truly empower innovation and shape what's next. Today, as you know, data is one of the most valuable assets our companies can leverage, and people are leveraging data to either disrupt the market that they're in, or if they're not effectively using it, it can be disrupted. Our research shows that data-driven organizations are not only 23 times more likely to acquire customers, but they're also 6 times as likely to retain customers and 19 times more likely to be profitable. This shows us that IT needs to shift from managing storage to managing data. There's an opportunity to unlock your data by streamlining access to your data innovators, developers, and analysts to create value from data, protect data by safeguarding it against threats and disruptions, and mobilize your data by accelerating access to your data, as well as freeing it across clouds. And if you're like most organizations, the most important part to accelerating this transformation revolves around data. Data and data management are central to every transformation, and the question that most companies are asking today is, what's preventing me from becoming a data-driven company, and what are the bottlenecks that stand in this way? So you can relate to the fact that the reality is managing data in your storage infrastructure today is complex. Storage still has a lot of complexity with silos and knobs. It's manual, admin-driven process that requires specialized domain expertise to manage its lifecycle. And this continues to leave IT professionals fighting fires and unable to innovate for their organizations. Similarly, data lifecycle management is built on a complex web of fragmented software and hardware with these manual processes that impede your data-driven transformation. Different tools and infrastructure silos support the data lifecycle from test dev, production, protection, all the way to analytics. This creates complexity at a cost to your agility, innovation, and increases your business risk. And in my experience in speaking with customers, I'm finding that this impacts across all organizations. In fact, our market research validates that this statement is true across all customers. So ESG, a leading analyst firm, recently conducted a survey of IT decision makers, and 93% of the respondents indicated that storage and data management complexity is impeding their digital transformation. 95% view better data utilization as a top 10 priority in their business, and 59% indicate that complexity is trending in the wrong direction. So in your organization, are you finding storage and data management complexity as a challenge to achieving your business and IT priorities? Well, good news, because today we're reimagining data management and infrastructure with a bold vision. A North Star to help you simplify, break down the silos and complexity in order to accelerate your data-driven transformation. We call it Unified Data Ops, and this is going to reimagine the data experience for your customers. It's an approach that integrates data-centric policies and automation across the data lifecycle to simplify data management, cloud-native control and operations to abstract control away from the underlying infrastructure to give the agility of the cloud with software as a service-based infrastructure services, and lastly, AI-driven insights and intelligence to make infrastructure invisible, just like in the cloud. So this is giving you the opportunity to transform in place wherever your data lives, simplify your data management complexity in order to unleash agility and accelerate your innovation. So how do we deliver this cloud experience wherever your data lives? And that's where our new product, HPE Alletra, powered by Data Services Cloud Console, comes in. HPE Alletra is natively powered with Data Services Cloud Console to deliver this cloud operational agility. It consists of two workload optimized systems, the Alletra 9000 and all NVMe storage for your mission critical workloads, and HPE Alletra, all NVMe storage for your business critical workloads. Both are delivered with a unified and as a service customer experience. So diving a little bit deeper into what Alletra is, it's a bold shift for data infrastructure across edge to cloud. It's a portfolio of cloud-native data infrastructure powered by Data Services Cloud Console that powers your data with the cloud experience wherever it lives. It's going to enable your IT to shift from owning and maintaining data infrastructure to simply accessing and utilizing it on demand and as a service. Built for every application from traditional to modern, HPE Alletra spans workload optimized systems to deliver this architectural flexibility without that complexity I spoke on earlier with traditional storage management. And plus, it frees your data across hybrid cloud in one unified platform. It's powered by Data Services Cloud Console, a unified data operations as a service. So again, as I mentioned, every organization wants to unleash the power of their data, but all these fragmented data management tools, manual processes, and infrastructure silos across edge to cloud are impeding this innovation, agility, as well as creating business risk. With Data Services Cloud Console, we're breaking down the barriers and removing the complexity that besets data and infrastructure management today, giving you the power to transform faster with unified data ops as a service. It's a software as a service-based console that delivers a suite of cloud services that enable this cloud operational agility for infrastructure and simplified data management, transforming this once complex data operations into a simplified experience across all clouds. So what are kind of the key value props of our cloud operational agility? Data Services Cloud Console delivers this cloud everywhere experience by separating the infrastructure control plane from the underlying hardware and moving it into the cloud. This unifies management silos under a single web interface, enabling a consistent experience across edge to cloud. This radically simplifies how customers manage infrastructure at scale across the lifecycle. So from streamlined device deployment to automatic optimized app deployment across your fleet. And it's also accessible from anywhere and any device and fully programmable via a universal API. So diving a little bit deeper into simplified deployment. Again, Data Services Cloud Console brings this cloud operational agility wherever your data lives. So when you think about the cloud, it's all about simplicity and streamlined process. With Data Services Cloud Console, you get this simplified and streamlined deployment process that can be completed in minutes. New systems are automatically discovered, onboarded, and configured. You simply cable up the system, turn it on, and Data Services Cloud Console is designed to do the rest. And one of our key features within Data Services Cloud Console is intent-based provisioning, making it effortless to provision applications at scale to eliminate the guesswork and deploy apps on the right resource across the global fleet. So it's time to say goodbye to spreadsheets and planning as it transforms storage provisioning from a one-centric manual process to an intent-based AI-driven approach. So with intent-based provisioning, your infrastructure admin only has to specify the workload type, capacity, and host groups that need access to that workload. The intent-based provisioning service within Data Services Cloud Console optimally determines where data should be stored with real-time context to resource headroom and app-specific SLAs. The combination of intent-based provisioning as well as the role-based access control enables this self-service data infrastructure provisioning for app owners as well as developers without the need for storage expertise. This is delivering a true cloud provisioning model to accelerate app development cycles, enabling effortless app provisioning experience demanded by today's fast-paced DevOps processes. Data Services Cloud Console has another key feature of the cloud by letting our customers manage their fleet from anywhere. It delivers global unified management, enabling customers to manage and monitor their distributed systems from edge to cloud from that single web interface. So you're managing 100 systems is as simple as managing one. Organizations need to manage their fleet of data infrastructure at their fingertips with an intuitive software as a service based user experience, again, accessible from anywhere and from any device. And finally, Data Services Cloud Console is a highly extensible API-first control plane, providing a fully programmable universal API across edge-to-cloud infrastructure that's going to give developers and app owners the ability to automate infrastructure, automate provisioning, automate data management, automate access to data, and do it at this cloud speed and scale through a single line of code. Customers can access the API via their automation tool of choice, platform as a service, management layers, and HPE GreenLake Cloud Services and data management apps that are HP built or partner delivered. So to wrap this all up, cloud operational agility from HPE truly is a game changer. With HPE Alletra and Data Services Cloud Console, we're delivering a better data experience across organizations. Business leaders can drive more value from data and create competitive advantages. IT increases agility and IT efficiency via cloud operations. And over time, data innovators will get streamlined access to production data to accelerate app time to market, time to insights, and database and app owners will be able to protect data against threats and disruptions. By simplifying data and IT operations, you can get up to 99% time savings, enabling higher productivity and giving time back. So data creates this experience touching across the organization. And with this experience, we're able to deliver something that impacts everyone from IT to database managers, developers, and specifically what this means for your company. You can maximize enterprise agility by leveraging the cloud experience wherever your data lives to eliminate the complexity of managing data infrastructure. It's going to empower your data innovators, from developers to analysts to data scientists, in order to unlock the value of data with streamlined and secure access to data. You can integrate the data management through the data lifecycle and across test dev, production, protection, and analytics. And finally, you can protect data wherever it lives from edge to cloud with simple policy-driven automation to meet any SLA, all while ensuring the performance and availability for data and apps without disruption. So thank you for listening about the cloud operational experience from HPE, powered by HPE Alletra and Data Services Cloud Console. I'm Jenna Collard, and now I'm going to open it up to any questions across the audience. Thank you.
Great presentation, Jenna. A really cool announcement from HPE there with the new Alletra storage that we learned about. We do have some questions for you from the audience. You ready?
Yeah, I am. Thank you.
All right, yeah. Let's see, first question that came in, they're asking, how is the Data Services Cloud Console really unique? How does it compare to potential competitors out there?
Yeah, definitely, and that's a great question. So the Data Services Cloud Console, as I spoke on in this presentation, delivers that data and infrastructure services that our customers are asking for, with also giving them the operational experience of the cloud. So this is allowing us to provide solutions for any workload anywhere. And we're really differentiating ourselves in 3 different focus areas with Data Services Cloud Console. So the first is that it's providing unified data operations. So giving customers, again, that simple cloud-native user experience for hybrid, so both on-prem and off-prem multi-cloud storage. It also is going to eliminate data gravity through seamless data mobility across cloud and on-premises. Second, it's bringing customers the agility to serve the needs of any application without compromise. This is going to optimally provision storage that's going to align with workload performance, availability, and cost requirements through our intent-based provisioning feature. And then thirdly, it's going to simplify operations, and that's what we see customers really looking to move to the cloud for. So by being able to automatically provision the correct SLAs based on what the application needs, again, through intent-based provisioning, with zero-touch deployments to enable customers to manage their infrastructure anywhere.
Very nice. Very nice. And then there's another question here. Where is the Data Services Cloud Console hosted? Kind of what's the architecture around this?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So it's actually hosted in multiple places around the world. So we own and manage all the Data Services Cloud Console services that are hosted at HPE contracted cloud providers. So this is going to provide infrastructure which can run on any cloud provider selected by HPE.
Got it. Okay. And we might want to clarify, I guess, around this. There's a couple questions on, does this only work with HPE, say, hardware and software, or could this work with other solutions in the industry?
Yeah, so it works with HPE storage right now.
Got it. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then what about, there's some questions around security, keeping this data secure. What's HPE doing around that?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I see the questions around end-to-end encryption and what kind we use for that, because it is hosted on our HPE cloud providers, and we also have the on-prem HPE Alletra solution. We're able to make sure that the encryption is there for our customers' data.
Excellent. And then let's see, Alan is asking about the storage limits with this, kind of the scalability.
Yeah, so that I see that question with regarding to cloud volumes as well, and being able to work with HPE Alletra and cloud volumes. Right now, cloud volumes isn't supported with HPE Alletra. That's our solution for nimble storage as well as HP Primera. With cloud volumes, we have the 2 services, so the block service as well as cloud volumes backup, which we launched last year. So with that, that's giving our customers the ability to back up to the cloud and then restore on-prem with no egress fees. And to answer, kind of going back to the previous question about security, all backups are immutable to ransomware. So by separating the compute and the storage, we're able to make backup invisible to ransomware to kind of ward off any security issues that may happen.
Very cool. Very cool. Let's see. So is this a SaaS service? Is this something that folks would kind of subscribe to?
Yes, this is a SaaS-based service, and it's also software online. So there is that web portal that when you buy HP Electra, you're able to then subscribe to Data Services Cloud Console. And the first service is the Data Ops Manager, which is essentially giving customers that global management across their entire fleet. So whether they have one storage system or hundreds across the globe, they're able to get full visibility into all of their systems in this one console that can be seen across any device. So this is really bringing together all of the management across their systems for all IT admins. So it's really bringing that cloud experience on-prem and into your data centers, no matter where your storage system lives.
Nice, nice. And then what about, some folks have concerns about RPO and RTO. They're trying to improve that at their company. Is this something that could help?
Yeah, definitely. And I think by being able to have more of that cloud agility and that ability to provision storage quickly, it's able to really help on that. So we're giving, especially by having this more SaaS-based console, developers can easily come on and provision storage that they need with the help of HPE InfoSight as well as intent-based provisioning, where we're able to decide on the system where the applications are being able to best deploy. So that's really going to be helping the developers bring apps faster to market, which is then going to drive faster business innovation.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, so how should folks get started with this new HPE solution? What do you recommend?
Yeah, definitely. So logging into hpestorage.com/Electra, there is a lot of information there that can kind of talk through Electra as well as the Data Services Cloud Console. There's also a chat button on our webpage to get started with an HPE sales rep to continue on this conversation.
Awesome. All right. Well, it's been great having you on. Congratulations on the new exciting announcement from HPE. Thanks very much, Jenna.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
And of course, thanks to HPE for presenting on the event today. As Jenna said, check out the handout that's available there in your audience console. There is a download with more information on the HPE Electra solution. And of course, if you go to hpe.com, you can try the solution out for yourself and check it out for yourself. So we encourage you to do that. I will leave up the poll question for anyone who hasn't yet responded to that while I announce our final prize winners. So we have another Amazon $500 gift card, this one going to Matthew Valenzuela from California. And then our final grand prize for another Apple M1 iPad Pro going to Martins Canu from California as well. Congratulations to all the prize winners. I will post all the names in the questions pane right now. All right. And before you go, I want to remind you to subscribe to the 10 on Tech podcast. It's over there in your Apple podcast store. And then, of course, don't forget about the Gorilla Guide Book Club. You can download free educational IT books there in the Handouts tab, or just go to gorilla.guide. After the event, you'll be automatically referred to the Refer a Friend page, and you can check that out. And we encourage you to sign up your IT friends or coworkers. We promise not to spam them, and if so, you could both win an Amazon $300 gift card. And then finally, if you are a potential sponsor of an upcoming Megacast or EcoCast event, reach out to us at connect@actualtechmedia.com. We would love to chat about having you on. And with that, I hope to see you on another upcoming Actual Tech Media event. I hope that you have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.